Welcome to today's GameCast broadcast. Today's broadcast is packed with a large variety of unique and original programming that is sure to meet every gamer's entertainment needs, along with some old-fashioned vitamins A and B. You can expect the hottest news of the week, a large variety of opinions, and salt, from GameCast hosts, and some good old-fashioned fun. We have a lot of entertainment in store for you, so grab a Mountain Dew or two and a bag of Doritos, strap yourself in for the one and only TV for Gamers.
This message not sponsored by Mountain Dew or Doritos. In fact, we wish we were sponsored by those guys. We could in fact be rolling into a not being cash and literal, so please someone out there sponsor the GameCast Entertainment Network. It means a lot to us, pretty please.
Stay tuned for the news hosted by Insert Name Here. Get yourself in the know on all the latest happenings in the gaming world, be it good, be it bad, be it something that makes me very, very salty. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the GC Informer. I am Snowy, otherwise known as Count Dracula, bringing you my first broadcast news, because Sarah is away at a cosplay convention. Would say lucky her, but it's in Southampton, so gonna bring you this first little story. Fortnite, the ever-popular Battle Royale survival crafting buildy zombie hoarding game, is going to be coming to mobile devices, much like its Battle Royale rival PUBG. It's not coming to mobile in the same sense that PUBG is, because PUBG is only available on mobile in countries like China, where they have stricter regulations on certain places. But in Fortnite's case, it's just going to be coming to mobile basically everywhere. And it's going to be on both formats, Android and iPhone, and fuck the other ones, because they're a bit shite. What is notable about this, though, is while it's coming very soon, it will also feature crossplay. So if you have a PS4 or a PC with Fortnite on it, you will soon be playing against people who are playing on mobile, which is certainly an interesting thing to have actually implemented, because a lot of people say that crossplay, well, this is usually people like Sony and Nintendo say that crossplay is a bit of a challenge to get in place, but if they can do it between a mobile device, a PC and a PS4, I don't think it's that much of an issue. But anyway, that's pretty fucking cool. As we know, Fortnite will be going free to play entirely in not too long a time. At the moment, just the Battle Royale mode is free, but the original base game, which was what the game was when it was first launched, this has always been the case, was a paid early access, ready to go into a free-to-play state once the game was ready. And that's creeping up soon. I don't know if the mobile version will launch before or around that, but we'll see. In either case, this will be interesting. You heard Mark's speculations on the Nintendo Direct on Thursday, so now we have some confirmations, and oh boy, was that a very, very good Nintendo Direct. There were several games announced for just general release on Nintendo systems, which were, you know, pretty great. There was one particular one, and I can't quite remember what it was. Oh yeah, there's going to be a new Smash game. People got a little bit excited about that. Can't think why. Other franchises arrived include WarioWare, which I'm personally very pleased to see come back. That's a really great little micro game series. Didn't get a Wii U outing. Don't think it's had a 3DS outing either. The last game it had was on the Wii. So I'm really excited to see a new WarioWare game on the Switch. Some games, though, are getting ported to the Switch, and those include the whole of South Park: The Fractured But Whole, which is, you know, a game that I wasn't expecting on the Switch because it's not very family friendly, to say the least, but at the same time, really good news. But the one that got me excited was the Crash Bandicoot N. Sane Trilogy has now been confirmed for the Switch, and outside of the Nintendo Direct, it has also finally been confirmed to have a PC release. And I'm a little bit torn on which one I'm going to buy it on. I'd really like to play it on Switch, but at the same time, I know that it'll look better on my PC. Oh, maybe I'll get it on both. It's the same with Rocket League, because you can now play Rocket League on your Switch on the go, which is the best thing ever. Other things announced at the Direct include a port of the original Luigi's Mansion over to 3DS to join its sequel partner, which was released quite a few years ago on the 3DS now. Okami HD will be getting a Switch release fairly soon. Obviously it's on most of the major platforms at the moment, so that'll be a nice little round off. There'll be another Captain Toad game, which for some reason is a thing and some people will like, as well as Undertale. Undertale is coming to the Switch. Please make Undertale amiibos, because you would get all of my money and some of my sperm. Also, the last things I'm going to mention are the Dark Souls Switch, Dark Souls remasters coming to Switch, which means there is actually going to be a Dark Souls amiibo. I've seen it, and there is also going to be a Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition on the Switch. So basically, what it seems like they're doing, Nintendo, are taking everything good from the Wii U's library and going, let's put this on a console where it's actually going to sell well. Like they did with Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, which I now have on Switch and are both very, very good. So yes, this was an amazing Nintendo Direct. Really, really great at building up some hype for the Switch, so well done, Nintendo. That brings us to the end of this episode of the GC Informer and the first episode in the broadcast. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like us, comment, subscribe. Hello, welcome to all the broadcast. We've got up next an episode of Game Changer, so enjoy that. Enjoy the rest of the broadcast, and I'll see you during the week for more news and some other stuff during the show.
The GameCast Discord is the hub of the small world that is GameCast. It's a thriving community filled with gamers, GameCast personalities, and other miscellaneous people we somehow keep picking up along the way. We really don't know how to get rid of them. Not only will it keep you up to date and in the know on all things GameCast, but you will also find weekly gaming events, streams, and of course, a very salty Count Fracula, now also available in a low-sodium alternative. Coming up next, Game Changer. Explore the many weird and awesome ways you could be playing your favorite games. Hacks, mods, challenges, and glitches. Game Changer and your host Alex are sure to have it all. A very salty Count Fracula. Coming up next, Game Changer.
What's up everyone, Alex here, and welcome back to Game Changer. This is where we explore weird and awesome ways to play games. Today we're looking at some challenges in Stardew Valley, so let's get right into it. So today's challenges that we're looking at: the Lumberjack Challenge, the Nuzlocke Challenge, the 1 Year 1 Million Challenge, the Antisocial Challenge, the Naturalist Challenge, and the Beer Baron Challenge. So let's get right into it. So the first two challenges I'm going to be reading off of a reference sheet here because there are a lot of details and a lot of rules regarding each of them. For the Lumberjack Challenge, basically you want to be the best lumberjack. You have to get your axe to Iridium level. You can have 2 gold level tools and 1 iron level tool. You have to leave one of your tools not upgraded. You can unlock things by unlocking Joja upgrades, such as you can't forage for seeds until you unlock the greenhouse. You must unlock the quarry to unlock mining. You can still mine stones around your farm and smelt copper ore any other time. You are allowed to plant 9 farming plots for growing crops to use for cooking, gift giving, or eating. You cannot sell them in any form or use any farming artisan machines. You can unlock more farming plots by buying sprinklers. With the exception of the backpack upgrades, you can't buy anything or sell anything to Pierre's. You cannot craft sprinklers of any kind ever. You must have your house upgraded fully, including the basement. You are not allowed to fish at all unless it is for the festivals. And here are the goals for actually completing this challenge. This must be completed in year 1. You have to have made 1 million gold. You need to have the Iridium axe. You need your house to be fully upgraded, including the basement. And you have to have unlocked all Joja upgrades. For the next challenge, this is called the Nuzlocke Challenge. It's not quite like the Pokemon Challenge, it's just named after it. While playing the game, you are only allowed to consult one handwritten notepad. You can only buy 5 items any given day. Ordering a building or upgrading your house will count as 5 items for the day. Buying a single animal counts as 2. Upgrading a tool counts as 2. Getting the backpack counts as an upgrade. For every person you get to 10 hearts, that increases the limit by 1. You can only plant up to 10 of each crop. Seeds you get as a reward do not count. You can have up to 3 of each animal. You have to eat something every day, even if you have a full energy bar. But you can only eat up to 5 things a day. You can only have 1 chest, with 1 extra one after marrying, and an extra one after that for each kid. So a total of 4 with a full family. The fridge can be used as well, but only for things used in a recipe you already have, or for cooked dishes. When you're in the mines, if you unlock 2 new elevators, you can't go any further. You can go back and grind previous floors at will. No restriction on the skull mines. You can't skip the intro or any cutscenes. You can't skip any festivals either. No buying anything from the travel cart. No Joja of any kind, this includes Joja soda. No using the name generator to name anything. No checking the weather forecast. And also no starting the day midway through. So that's it for the first 2 complicated, really detailed challenges. Now I'm just going to rattle off the rest of them. For the 1 year 1 million challenge, you need to get 1 million in the bank by the end of year 1. You can add other requirements such as having a full house, getting married, getting a stable, getting a horse, etc. For the antisocial challenge, never talk to anyone. The exceptions include vendors and cutscenes. For the Naturalist Challenge, don't rely on society at all, so that includes shops, the community center, etc. Do not use pens for any of your animals, and only use foraged seeds. And for the Beer Baron Challenge, make as much beer, ale, coffee, or mead as possible in 1 year. No wine or juice is allowed. That is actually for another challenge, but I will leave it at that. Don't rely on society at all, so that includes shops, the community center, etc. I think I might end up trying these in my own playthroughs. I've always loved long-running challenges as opposed to those that are shorter. Some of these are really good, and I think I might try to look for more to cover in a future episode. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, head on over to the GameCast YouTube channel. We're doing some reviews, news, let's plays, podcasts. We're doing all sorts of awesome stuff. We're also on Twitch. Don't forget to catch our Saturday live stream. Anyway, I am signing off for now. See you later. I think I might try to look for more to cover in a future episode.
Follow GameCast on Twitter. Not only is it a handy space that keeps you in the GameCast know, but it allows for you to share with us what's piquing your interest in the gaming world, and ultimately aids us in staying in the know of what interests you, our fellow gamers and fans. GameCast Twitter has been referred to as a shotgun to the face of tweets and content. We will be very
disappointed if you don't retaliate in kind.
It allows for you to share with us what's piquing your interest in the gaming world, and ultimately aids us in staying in the Stay tuned for the Newscast, the show where the GC Informa hosts are format-free, off-script, and, at times, out of their minds. Join them as they dive deep into the current events of the gaming world.
Warning, may contain high levels of salt. GameCast is not accountable for any health issues relating to salt exposure or consumption.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the GameCast Newscast. I am Snowy, otherwise known as Count Fracula. Joining me, as always, is my co-host Max.
As they dive deep into the current
Hello, everybody.
Yes. So that's the thing. That's an intro. What have you been playing this week, Max?
Well, I just got back from a mental health trip to go visit my friend, and on that time, it was a flight to California, so for the flight, I ended up buying Chrono Trigger on mobile, like as a last-minute decision, because it's funny, because I know the Steam release just came out, and Mark and I were talking about that, and originally I was just going to wait for it to come on Steam and buy it, but I heard the port is terrible, so I figured might as well just buy it on mobile where I can play the game anywhere instead of having to deal with like a shitty port while at home on PC. It's my first time playing the game. I am thoroughly enjoying it so far. It's like I like JRPGs, though I can't say that I've played a ton of like the classics and everything like that. So it's really interesting for me to be getting into like this sort of classic JRPG and see like kind of the OG ones. The story has been kind of fantastic so far. Again, I'm only 4 hours in. I don't know how long the game is. I'm sure it's like 50 to 60 hours. So I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure I haven't seen shit, but I am very excited to get more into it because I've just been thoroughly enjoying it so far. The combat, the turn-based combat, I had to switch it over to wait. I feel like I'm being hindered playing on mobile. I feel like I can't be as like on point and quick as I'd like to be in the battle system, so I had to switch it over from active to like wait, which is kind of a shame, but other than that, I'm really enjoying it. Mobile issue, the mobile port, I get why there's issues though. Like, you have to, I'm always continually tapping on things, trying to like talk to someone. Like, you have to run right up to them, and you have to be facing them, and then you have to like tap on them on the screen. And like, if you miss, you have to just keep trying that until it works. So sometimes, like when I'm searching for items, like in the environment and stuff, I may straight up just miss something, even though like I shouldn't, but I just may straight up miss something because the touchscreen isn't working very well. It's super finicky, which is annoying. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's a small thing, you know. Like, I'm still experiencing the game and everything like that, and it's not enough to ruin the experience for me. Even though these are kind of dumb issues, I feel like shouldn't exist. But yeah, and then I've also been playing as of yesterday this survival game called Desolate. It's a bit different than most traditional. Right. No, it's a bit different than traditional survival games so far. Like, I'm not really a big fan of them. The last one I was ever into was Minecraft, and like Minecraft is, you know, Minecraft. There's a reason for that. But so far I'm kind of liking this one because like it had a prologue which introduced the story to me and everything. Even though the story I don't think really plays any part in the main game, it's sort of told what happened and why things are the way they are. And there's actually a bunch of quests and stuff so far. So like I actually have incentive in the game, which is really interesting and cool. Like, I'm not used to that sort of thing in these games. Otherwise, I would have been turned off of it from the start. But so far, those are two big points in its favor. The game just came into early access, I think last week. Could be a bit earlier than that, but so far it's been interesting. It's been pretty cool. As far as survival games go, I'm sure there are way worse out there, but I still have a lot to go. So yeah, what about you, bud?
I have been playing a fair bit of Into the Breach.
The game just came into early access. Ooh, okay.
The new game from the FTL devs.
But so far it's been interesting.
It's good. It's a good game.
As far as games go, I'm sure there are.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's very difficult, but you know,
what about you, bud?
As is to be expected from the FTL guys, really.
Yeah, I was about to say that game is hard as hell.
Oh yeah, and yeah, it's similar in its sort of, you need to be pretty good at strategy to be good at this game. I'm enjoying it, which I'm not. I enjoy it. I'm not good at it. But yeah, it's really fun game to play. It's just, you know, quite tense, but good in its own way. I've also been playing. I played a bit of Elite Dangerous VR. That's slightly terrifying.
How was that?
Everything's huge. But yeah, it's really fun game to play. So unbelievably.
I forgot.
You just don't think about it. Like, you're playing the game and you're like, oh, that's a really big space station. They've done a really good job of that. Let's go. You play it in VR and you're just like, holy fuck, this thing is huge. What the hell?
How was that? That's the thing. Aren't there like aliens in that game now and stuff too?
Oh, yeah.
Or are those not implemented yet?
I think you have to have the Horizons expansion for that, which I don't have.
Gotcha.
Like, it's only 20 quid, so I should probably pick it up at some point. But as it stands, I haven't got it. So there may well be aliens, but I haven't found them.
That's the thing. Aren't there like aliens in that game now?
Yeah, I've mostly been Space Courier number 6000 so far. basically my role in the game, just ferrying shit back and forth, because that's that.
Fair enough. Yeah, that game looks interesting. I own it, but when I bought it, my computer wasn't powerful enough to run it. I could probably run it now. Yeah, I've always wanted to try it.
I think I bought it when I had just like a little laptop, the laptop that I still have that I use on the go. But
right.
Yeah, I couldn't really play it back then either. But,
fair enough. Yeah, that game looks interesting. I own it, but now I got a powerhouse. I could probably run it now.
Now I have something sensible. I think I bought it when I had. So yeah, that's pretty fun. Just slightly terrifying as well, because you realise how huge they've made everything. And when you jump to another solar system and you jump out of your frameshift drive, there's a big fuck off star in your face, and it's slightly terrifying.
I fucking believe it.
There is a man who believes himself to be an amazing pickup artist. I mean, if you're calling yourself a pickup artist, you are automatically a dick. But that's just my opinion on the matter. This man, I can't remember his name, Richard LaRuina.
I fucking believe Same. It.
Ruins everything. Ruins everything. Yes, he is a self-styled pickup artist. According to him, he's the top one in Europe. That's just my opinion on the matter.
How does one judge that?
The level of one's ego, I should imagine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, did you know, Count, that I am the top water bottle drinker in the United States?
Yes, he is a self-styled pickup artist. You were thirsty.
Yeah, I drink 6 a day. Like, minimum, every single day. That makes me the best. Yeah.
What?
I drink a lot of water. Oh, okay. Yeah.
What?
My pee is always clear, though.
I'm gonna say, what? How have you not melted away or something? So this guy has made a video game. I say he's made one. Someone has made it with his endorsement. What? It's called Super Seducer. What?
My pee is always clear, though.
Because of course it is. And it's an FMV game. So this guy, because that's the thing that the world needed back in our lives. FMV games. Those things that
her story is fantastic.
What?
Her story.
That was the exception,
Isn't that what it's called?
though, not the rule. Most FMV games are pretty shite. It's an FMV game.
Fair.
So, yeah, he made a game. It's an FMV seduce em up.
Hey, her story is
and it looks real bad. It's on Steam. And before I get to the thing that is on the article that I've shown Max, I'm going to bring up the fact that the company that his company sent out codes to people to review. Do you know, that's a standard thing for game dev companies to do.
Right.
But now, one of these particular critics, whose name I forget, sorry, in whatever world this person happens to find this video and watch this, and I don't remember your name, he was a bit critical of the game, and this sparked...
Imagine that.
Yeah, this sparked Mr. Lorena, I'm just butchering that pronunciation, I'm sure, to get a little bit angry. And he found a video, and in the comments section, launched into a bit of a tirade, saying that this guy was just ill-informed and just loads of horrible things, and basically saying he was shit with women as well because he advised people to be themselves instead of what this guy recommends you do.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, he was being an utter asshole about it. So, that could have just been left there, but the guy then decided he was going to go a little bit further than that, and
he took up a conversation on emails with this guy, and it went about as well as you can expect, really. Like, it wasn't great. Actually, no, sorry, it wasn't emails, it was Twitter. So that's even worse because it's public. And basically, this all culminated in the guy saying that he wasn't going to DMCA. He was thinking of DMCAing them, but he wasn't going to because he's just that nice a guy. And this YouTuber replied, yeah, that's probably not the best idea to do that. So, obviously, this man has a bit of a fragile ego, as you can imagine, because he styles himself as a pickup artist. So,
and he's getting offended like this.
Yes. And he decided that that guy saying, oh, no, that's probably a bad idea, good thing you didn't do that, was an invitation to do it.
What?
Yeah. He DMCA'd this person's video.
I don't know. Maybe there's something actually wrong with him. Or he just sounds like one of those people where it just...
Of course there's something wrong with him. He's a medically certified cunt. That one I'm keeping in.
I can't argue that one,
Desolate.
Bud. No, it crashed on me.
I can't talk, I'm playing Pokemon.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this guy DMCA'd the guy's video. But then, the guy's PR team came back in, like, a day after this happened, saying, oh, this should be resolved now. This shouldn't have happened. And then Lorena emailed this guy saying, well, I rescinded the thing because it was just a polite warning. So,
no, it wasn't.
No, it's just being an asshole. So that's that guy, and he's brought out a game, and by all accounts, it's a bit shit. So shit, in fact, that Sony, releases of games such as Life of Black Tiger, have...
Oh, that game.
Oh, God. I'd forgotten about that until a minute ago. Have blocked the game from being released on its store. Good.
I mean, yay, but guess what? It's also available on Steam still.
Everything's available on Steam.
You're available on Steam.
I mean, I do have a Steam account that you can add me on.
Shameless plug.
Fuck off. I don't want random people adding me on Steam. God, no. So, yeah, this game, while it is still up on Steam, I'm going to look up the store page, actually, has actually been blocked from the PS4 store. So, that's good. It costs £7.82, full price £10.29, which is about $13 to $15. Wow! He's got some balls charging that much for this game. Wait, oh god, that's depressing. It has mostly positive reviews on Steam.
I mean, think about the people who would actually buy this game.
I fucking hate Steam. Fuck you all.
This is, I mean, again, think about the people who actually, like, buy this. Also, out of how many reviews is that?
80.
80?
Yes.
Wow, that's more than I expected.
Yeah.
Trash.
Yeah, this most of the reviews are just basically, hey, this is positive because, like, funny and memes.
I guess, but that still contributes to the problem, in my opinion.
Yeah.
What a great thing to talk about on International Women's Day.
Yeah. Hey, you're all great. Just don't fall prey to this cunt.
Yep.
Actually, you're not all great. There's some arsehole women out there. Let's be fair.
Just like with men.
Exactly. There's a lot of arseholes in the world. Doesn't matter what fucking gender you are, you can still be an asshole.
Yep.
Anyway, that's got literally nothing to do with anything. Holy shit. Sorry. Just found a thing.
Are we ending it on that?
Why not? Before we start the next topic then, Max, you know how H1Z1 went free to play because it's probably not got a lot of players?
Yep. It didn't have a lot of players.
No. Well, they have launched a bit of DLC called the H1Z1 Gold Limited Edition, in all capitals, Battle Royale Pack. Would you like to know the cost of this pack?
Not really, but for the sake of information, sure.
£78.99.
That's a lot of money.
That is nearly $100. In fact, I think that is $100.
That is not okay.
That is obscene. Let's see what we get in this pack. What is the story we're actually...
I'll bet you it's not even $50 worth.
No. Fuck it. I am cancelling the second story to talk about this because the second story is slightly boring in comparison.
Okay.
In this pack... Oh, wow. There's barely anything in there. Oh, no. So... About this content, I'm going to read the description for everybody, all the boys and girls out there. H1Z1 Battle Royale is now free to play! Jump in today and enjoy... I almost half tempted to buy it last week. I'm fucking glad I didn't. Jump in today and enjoy the fast-paced, intense, action-packed gameplay for the original Battle Royale game. If you're looking to stand out from the competition... Wow. The Gold Limited Edition Battle Royale Pack offers a great assortment of items to get you started and on the right foot. Included in this pack are a skin for the Slate Camo ARV skin, the Pink Poodle Sedan skin, a mask for Dog Racer Lola and Dog Racer Leo, the Urinator character skins. Oh, Urbanator. They're very different things.
I was going to say, what?
The Urinator.
Yeah. Wow.
Oh, now with realistic dong physics. Sorry. Urbanator character skins. The Silver Soldier character skins. Westwood character skins. That's Tim Westwood. He's going to pimp my ride. That's a reference you won't get. Fucking hell. You have Pimp My Ride, but not Tim Westwood. The Harmony AK-47 and Bronze Riot shotgun skin. 50 Mayhem crates, because it has loot crates. 2 Silver Mayhem crates. 1 Gold Mayhem crate and 50,000 skulls, which I think is the currency of the game.
50,000?
That probably doesn't buy you a huge amount, though.
I'm going to guess that's probably the most you're buying in this, because it sounds like it's pretty much all skins otherwise.
Yeah.
Which is trash.
There are some reviews of this pack that costs £80 nearly. Can you eat it?
Please do share.
Is the first review. The second review is very good. The third review is in a language I don't understand, so I'm going to pop it into Google Translate and get back a very broken English reply. Auto detect into English. Buy silver coins first, several times. What?
Alright.
Fabulous. So, that is
freaking tastic.
That is disgusting. I'm gonna say. What an obscene amount of money to charge for such a relatively tiny amount of fucking content.
Yeah, no, that's pretty absurd. It sounds like they're just trying to make up for all of the players that they lost / won't be getting / that sort of shit.
Yeah, I get it going free to play. That does make a bit of sense when you consider everything.
Oh, yeah.
I also get that free to play games have to make their money somehow. Assuming they've added loot boxes for whatever reason.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, I'm assuming that they were either there before or they've been added in.
Yeah.
Just what? That is just disgusting.
I mean, are you that surprised? With everything that's been going on in the industry nowadays, I'm just really not.
I don't want this from the fucking indie scene as well, though. Getting up.
Yeah, I think that H1Z1's a special case when it comes to the quote-unquote indie scene. I think they feel like they kind of got screwed over, which in a way I guess they did with Battle Royale, but you know what? The other teams handled it better, so like...
Not really. They didn't get screwed over. Someone happened to have come along with a game that was
better.
more popular than them.
That's the thing, yes.
It's not like they were conned out of anything. Would you like to know?
Well, I think it's the same logic as... What's that?
No, you go first.
I was just going to say, I think it's the same logic, whereas like PUBG, the devs of PUBG feel like they created Battle Royale or whatever, and that they felt the right to sue Epic over it. So I feel like this is a similar case, and maybe that's why they're doing that sort of thing.
Maybe. Or maybe they've lost their shit because they've just hemorrhaged players. And they don't know what
Most
to
likely.
do anymore. Would you like to know the total cost of all the downloadable content for H1Z1?
Same answer as before, no, but like, yes.
£215.25.
Wow. And there are going to be people that buy all that too. And you know what? That's probably going to be a waste of money because the game probably isn't going to last. I think they're just trying to cut their losses.
$300.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I really think they're just trying to cut their losses.
Yeah, I think they are. And it's probably why they released out of early access, because they were just like, well, we'll get a week of good sales. And then
hopefully
make it free to play, put everything else in it, just try and eke as much money as we can out of it.
Yep.
Wow.
Pretty much what it sounds like.
That's depressing. That is real depressing.
Just a tad.
Yeah. The funny thing is, that came under new and trending on Steam.
Really?
Don't think that'll be trending for
I don't know
long,
about
matey
that
boy.
Well, nothing we can do.
No, nothing we can do. H1Z1 still just... Well, if you thought it was moderately worth playing before, it's not now. Not worth playing now.
Pretty much.
Well, you know, we gave it every chance, and they fucked it up. Let's move on. To be fair, we got about as much out of that as we would have done with the God of War thing, so...
Yeah, fair.
Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is gonna come out. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. You're not wrong.
Yeah. Kill me.
But there's something fantastic about it.
Is there?
Yes.
Oh.
Probably the greatest thing of news I've heard all year.
Okay.
Maybe not that, but...
Is this about the logo?
This is about the logo.
I will let you explain the logo then.
So, as we know, Black Ops there's been Black Ops 1, there's been Black Ops 2, which was the Roman numeral 2. Two lines. There was Black Ops 3, which is the Roman numeral 3, which is 3 lines. And you'd think naturally for Black Ops 4, they'd go to IV, the Roman numeral for 4. Guess what? They didn't do that. Instead, they just added another line, and now it's 4 lines for Black Ops 4. And I don't know the logic behind it. Maybe it's to stand out. It's getting a bunch of publicity because of this, but it's also just kind of hilarious, and it makes me not respect the series even more than I didn't already, if that makes sense.
I'm trying to see if there's any sort of military rank.
Reasoning.
Yeah.
That's true. That could have something to do with it.
So it might be like the US sort of ranks.
Either way, at first glance, it's fucking hilarious.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Just give me the fucking... There's an old Wikipedia page on the fucking UK one, but not the US. Right.
I mean, does that really matter?
I mean, it does.
I imagine they're pretty similar.
I'm trying to see the thing.
Oh, military. Sorry. I thought you meant
Yeah.
the game.
Captain. Captain is 2. Lieutenant? Are we going down or as? Yeah, because Colonel's there.
Also, if
Alright.
I'm being completely honest, even if there is one, I wouldn't be surprised if COD just wasn't aware of it and they just decided to do this just to do it anyways.
Oh, probably.
Maybe that's just me being a bit cynical, but like, yeah.
I just think it's real dumb.
Oh, it is.
And
the-
yeah, it's so this is the next Treyarch one, because
Yes, Treyarch does Black Ops.
three sets of developers making these games, because of course there are. Why fuck off.
Because money count.
Yeah, so it's coming out on October the 12th. It's got a shit logo. Something.
Oh yeah, that's the weird thing. It's coming out in October instead of November.
Oh yes, it's coming out earlier than usual. There's also the community reveal event on May the 17th. That sounds like
lovely.
the most tedious thing in the fucking world. So
Take
yeah.
a guess as to why it's coming out in October, though.
Well, I know, but
Instead of
the
November.
audience can't reply to us. So, since people might be watching on the broadcast, let's give them a few seconds to type out their answers, and we'll fill with some lovely music.
We're interactive.
Yeah.
Ba-da-da.
That'll do. The reason they're launching earlier than usual, is because they want to get ahead of the release of Red Dead Redemption 2, a game that comes out.
And can anyone blame them?
Well, no, exactly. It comes out on the 26th of October. That game, which is usually pretty close to the Call of Duty release time. I think they release mid-November, roughly.
Yeah, around there. Like I want to say like the 20s
I don't know.
November or something like that.
I would say, but I honestly don't give a shit.
At least you're honest.
It makes sense that they've pushed this back because Red Dead might well walk all over Call of Duty because it's a very popular Rockstar franchise. And guess what? Rockstar are a very, very popular developer. Can't think why.
I mean, honestly, I feel like it's still going to overshadow it, even this month early release.
Well, yes, we've got a whole 2 weeks exactly 2 weeks actually, between that and between Blops and Red Dead. So it'll have 2 weeks in the clear to sell what it will, and it'll sell probably most of the copies it's gonna sell in those 2 weeks, because that's how Call of Duty games tend to work, to the best of my knowledge.
Right.
And I mean, by the seams of it, it's just sort of, that'll do it. But well, you were saying to me
It
you don't
exists.
think Call of Duty is going to sell as well this year, regardless of the fact that it's launched early.
Yeah, I think because of Red Dead. And also, there are the rumors that Battlefield 5 will be revealed this year, and I have every reason to believe it will also probably be coming out this year, or Bad Company 3, or whatever it turns out to be. So, I mean, that's going to factor in as well. But, I don't know, we'll see. I feel like there are just too many things. And, like people are playing PUBG and Fortnite now. I argue probably most of those people are the same people that Call of Duty targets. Not all of them, of course, but you know what I mean? Like they're what we were talking about before the stream. They're the people who tend to focus more on playing one game at a time. And just, yeah, I don't know. I feel it in my bones, Count.
Feel it in my fingers. Yeah, I get that. It certainly makes a bit of sense. But, yeah, I find it very difficult to care about Call of Duty.
Yeah, fair.
That's just me. It's really not my thing. I've never been into it. Even when I was sort of the angsty teenager and whatever, I never got into the Call of Duty games. They never grabbed me. I don't know why.
I played them through World at War was my first one, and I fell in love with it. And then I played it through to Modern Warfare 2. Okay. So, well, no, to Black Ops. I loved Black Ops. So I played World at War, Modern Warfare 2, and Black Ops, and thoroughly enjoyed all three. And then I was done. Modern Warfare 3 fucking ruined it for me.
Oh. Fair enough.
Modern Warfare 3 was like the start of the current Call of Duties now, where like it's not like tactical and like big maps and everything. Now it's like super close together, dying constantly. Just, I don't know. I enjoyed like the exploring the big maps and the tacticality and everything. Is tacticality a word? I feel like I just made that up. But you know what I mean. Tactfulness, I guess.
That's not what tactfulness means.
Yeah. No.
Still, I know what you're getting at, so that's the important thing. Yeah, I get that. I think a lot of our generation have gone off Call of Duty, but I don't know if the people who are now in their sort of mid-teens are into it. I don't know if that's the case.
I feel like they're playing Fortnite and shit now.
Yeah, I feel like they're not into it as much as we are. Or we were, rather.
Which I can't say I blame them.
No, because it's very much the sort of, I don't know, the gun nut game. You go, I'm really into guns. And that's the kind of game you play. Obviously, that's a wild stereotype, but you get where I'm coming from with that. So, yeah, I do get why I think it's probably gone off a bit in terms of people playing it. But yeah, so Call of Duty is coming out a month early. Might help, might not help. We'll see at some point though. Do you like bullet sponges, Max?
Yeah.
Well, have I got news for you? The Division 2 Bullet Sponge Revenge has been not announced, but the details of said announcement have been leaked. So that's the thing that's happening. In fact, I'm going to recite two very clever puns that I made in the Corrupt Clay Discord server earlier. That I just think
clever according to who?
Over the Edge, Grant.
Okay, fair.
Yeah,
I trust him.
So the first one was Bullet Sponges 2. This time it's Persil, which is a sort of washing detergent over here. And the second one was Men in Scarves 2, The Snoozening.
Wow.
Hey, I thought that one was the
I
better
don't
one.
hate them. I don't hate them.
It's better than The Division.
Cannot argue that one.
What should we call this highly tactical multiplayer shooter game? The Division. I mean, are you sure? Is there nothing better we could call it? The Division. I mean,
do you remember how hyped this game was when it was first announced, though? The first one?
Oh, yeah. It was one of... Do you know what it also was? It was one of the first games that had scripted voiceover, like scripted multiplayer voiceover in a gameplay demo at E3.
Oh, yeah.
It started the trend that Anthem followed.
That was so funny. I think it was handled better than Anthem's was, though.
Everything seems to be being handled better than Anthem. Let's be fair. Yeah, Anthem is not being handled well for whatever reason. Because it's EA, actually, that's the reason.
Hey, you never know. We'll find out more about
I
that
don't
game
have
later this
high
year.
hopes, I'll be honest.
No, I don't either.
No.
I really don't, but you never know.
Yeah, it might be amazing. I want it to amaze me. I want every single game to be good. But that's usually not the case, I'm afraid.
Yeah, you can't go around doing that, Snowy. That's not fair.
Well, I can't go
To
around
yourself.
wanting every game to be good.
No, that's not fair to yourself.
Damn
You
it.
can't be expecting that.
Oh my god,
It's not fair to the games industry either. What's that?
They are making a Doctor Who book based around the female version of the Master. It's going to be like her adventures.
Well, that's actually really cool.
I am hyped for that because she is the best part of Peter Capaldi's run on that show.
Okay.
She was fucking amazing as well. She calls herself Missy, but it's the Master. She's the best fucking part of that. She owns that role. She's so good at that. Anyway, nothing to do with what we were just talking about. I just thought I'd bring that up. Anyway, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, The Division 2, the world's most boring thing.
All right, there are worse things than that.
Oh, sorry, Ghost Recon Wildlands 2, if that ever happens. That'll be the most boring
I don't know
thing
how
in the
that game did what it did last year.
What existed? What did it do? Oh, it sold a ton, didn't it?
Yeah, it was the highest selling game before Destiny 2 came out.
Wow. And who remembers
Which came out
it
in like
now?
September, by the way.
Fucking nobody.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how that game was so popular. It looked incredibly generic to me. And from what I heard, it was incredibly generic.
That's probably why it sold well.
I guess so, my dude.
Ghost Recon Wildlands sales figures. Well, that's July. In July, it had sold...
In December, drinking horchata.
Just tell me how many... Why don't game publishers tell you how many fucking copies of the game that they sold? This is so dumb.
Because that would make life easier. We've went over this.
Yeah, because I suppose it would expose their poverty crying for what it is. Lies. Yeah. I still think that. I have no reason to believe that they are telling the truth about their poverty-stricken thing because, it's not... Just show us! Show us that you're having financial trouble to justify this bullshit that you're putting in your games!
Yeah, it is weird that all the other media industries show this except for games.
Hey, this is how much we made at the box office. We made a loss. Oh, that's a shame. Games are like, no, you can't see. Why? Why can't we see? You can't see. It's ours.
Lord.
Fuck the games industry sometimes. Oh dear. So, are you excited for Bullet Sponges 2?
Nah, I don't give a shit. I never even touched the first one.
I also don't give a shit. But it is something worth talking about because it's a game that was apparently popular at the time, even though it was...
Apparently it was good until the end game.
In hindsight.
Apparently that's it. Apparently it was great until the end game. Honestly, I think it's a game I would have enjoyed had I gotten it until the end game.
Maybe.
But, yeah.
The Division 2 will again run the studio's own Snowdrop engine, albeit an updated version. This is according to the leaked information. Several Ubisoft branches are working on it. There's no screenshots or anything because obviously this is just leaked details about its existence.
Honestly, by the time this video goes up, the game will probably be officially announced.
Think it's basically going to be announced like in the next day or two at the most at this point. More of the game will be unveiled at E3 Ubisoft has said. So they have actually just confirmed this at this point. They've gone, it was leaked early, but yeah, this is happening.
I mean, we all expected it anyways.
Yeah, they have stated as well that the Division, the first Division... Oh no, what do we even call the Division when the Division 2 comes out? Do we call it the Division 1? The first Division? None of these sound correct in any way.
I mean, I think we just call it the Division. Just like with Destiny.
The shit.
We started calling it the shit.
So, yeah, the first Division game will continue to receive updates for now, which include a Xbox One X performance update, like the PS4 Pro updates.
Woo.
And, what? In June, apparently, players of The Division will be able to unlock in-game achievement crests, which then unlock rewards in The Division 2 when that releases.
Oh, just like Destiny 2.
I didn't know that was a thing in Destiny, but okay.
Yeah, they have their entire book of it, actually.
Okay.
It's cool, actually, for dedicated players, I will say that.
I'm sure it is, yeah, but I don't think I've ever... The only series I've ever been that dedicated to is Pokemon, and that's just me. My probably blind love of a series. It's not blind, because I know when it fucks up, but, you know. At least I can accept it, unlike some Nintendo fans. Oh, God. Right.
Fair point.
So, yeah, The Division 2 is coming out soon. Not soon. Probably next year. But it's probably going to be talked about at E3. But we know it exists now. So that's the thing. And that will probably finish the show. Or will it? Surprise encore! No, I'm joking. It is genuinely the end of the show now. Thank you very much for watching.
I was about to say, I feel like you're the one who decides this.
It's funny that. It's almost as if I'm the host. Thank you all very much for watching this, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I'd like to thank Max for being here again.
Hey, as always, my dude. Anything for you, my little count.
Okay. That's... Okay. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed watching. Again, if you're watching in the broadcast, stay tuned for whatever's next in the show. I never remember the lineup, even though I'm probably going to be the one doing our weird hosting thing this week. Oh well. Yeah, stay tuned for more of that. If you're watching on YouTube, tune into the broadcast. It's a really cool thing that we do on Saturdays at 2 p.m. at EST, Central, whatever time it is. What is it? Who am I? What is life? Why am I here? Kill me.
72, I believe is the answer.
No, the broadcast is at 10 a.m. CST on a Saturday. You should probably tune into that. It's real fun. It premieres all of our content for the upcoming week, and you join in some live chat with everybody. Woo! Yay! Lots of fun. And that's a great thing.
Woo! Yay! Lots of fun.
Exactly, yeah. We run it once at that time on, I think Twitch is the one that has it first, and then we also run it a little bit later on in the day on our YouTube channel, with probably Sully hosting it, because that's how it worked last week. But anyway, thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Late to the broadcast and miss your favorite show? Fear not, we've got you covered. The GameCast YouTube channel contains all of your past and present shows on demand for you to view at a time of your convenience. The space also serves as a portal of sorts for you to discover what your favorite GameCast personalities are creating outside of the GameCast world. Simply click the link below for the past and present on demand, with a side bonus of content from your favorite GameCast personalities.
Split Screen is a show where we pick a certain topic within the current gaming climate and provide two differing opinions on that topic while trying to reach some sort of compromise. I'm your host Max, also known as Maximal.
And I'm Mark, also known as Koistorch. For example, I might say that yearly franchise releases are slowly killing the industry,
while I might say that yearly releases keep the franchise relevant while something bigger is worked on in the background.
Of course, we also encourage feedback and want your thoughts on the day's topic, and future topics you'd like us to tackle as well.
ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another episode of Split Screen. As always, I am joined by my faithful co-host, Mark. How's it going, Mark?
I'm good. I'm well rested, ready for another episode.
Hell yeah, dude. Happy to hear it. For those who don't know, Split Screen is a newer GameCast show where we present two differing opinions on a topic, and we try to come to some sort of conclusion or some sort of point where we can kind of see where the other person is coming from and maybe even agree with it. In today's episode, we are talking about the difference between remasters and remakes and which is better for the industry, which is better for games in general, case-by-case basis, etc., stuff like that. I will be on the side of remasters being a good thing and arguably better than remakes in a lot of ways, and Mark will be on the opposite side of that. So, to start the conversation, I think we should talk about the recent Shadow of the Colossus remake. Mark, did you play the originals? Any of the originals?
I've played the original Shadow of the Colossus as well as Eco and stuff like that. But I played the original Shadow, but I never played the remaster.
On the PS3?
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel like while Shadow of the Colossus is definitely a cult hit and a cult following, there are still a lot of people who didn't necessarily play the game at this point. Even with the PS2 version, the PS3 port, which I'm sure actually appealed to a lot of people, and now the PS4 has gotten an entire remake, which is much more than a remaster and all that sort of stuff. And to be completely honest with you, while Shadow of the Colossus is definitely, like I said, a cult hit, has a lot of following behind it, and, it did a lot of crazy things. It definitely sort of created a genre. It sort of created a new way for developers to look at games. I do think that an entire remake over it is kind of an overkill. I'd have to say that Shadow of the Colossus, not necessarily just being remastered and ported to the PlayStation 4, is just... they already ported it to the PS3 and kind of remastered it. I don't understand why they couldn't have just done that again with the PS4, because I feel like at this point, they're almost milking it when they could be working on something else entirely. I know that they did just come out with The Last Guardian, which was... From what I know, it was decently well received. I actually played quite a bit of it, and I thought it was a very interesting game. But to me, I'd like more games kind of like that, of them experimenting and exploring things, rather than just kind of remastering or spending time and resources remaking an entire game from 2 generations ago. I feel like if I wanted to go play Shadow of the Colossus, I should play the PS2 version, or at least the PS3 remaster, and I feel like they could have just kind of ported that over again to the PS4. I don't see why they needed to spend so much time doing that.
Yeah, I can see that, because a lot of good remakes come from well-placed timing, and I don't recall anyone necessarily screaming out that Shadow of the Colossus should be remade, because what was there was awkward, silly, but somewhat beautiful, because that's sort of how that company operates. But while a remake wasn't out of the question, because it was quite high-end PS2 and the Colossi still look incredible, the environments were pretty dated, and some of the animations were quite awkward. But that's all part of that Team Eco's charm.
Yes, I was about to say that.
Because from what I've seen, this remake it maintains the grandiose, beautiful nature of the game, but some of the sort of eerie supernatural elements, like the guiding lights and the just strange motion blur and bloom effects, it made it seem so alien. But now I've seen it's still beautiful, but it's not as sort of groundbreakingly special and crazy, like something you've never seen before.
Right.
But I also feel like that comes from misplaced timing. I think a remake isn't out of the question, but it came too soon after the remaster, because the remaster was only 2-3 years ago, and it's not like PS3 games have gone extinct.
Yeah. And also, I could even kind of say I don't think there's really much demand for this sort of game to be remastered or to be remade and to come. Am I wrong in that?
No, I would have never expected it to be remade. I always expected remasters. Like you said, that this particular game, I definitely thought it would have been ported.
Yeah, see, I thought that too. I'm surprised that it wasn't. I'm kind of surprised that there isn't a port and a remake. Like, meaning that they ported it first and then also focused on the remake. I don't know. Developers are weird sometimes.
Yeah, and so that's just like an example of an awkward remake. Like no one really called for it, but we got it anyway.
Right.
But then, like, you can have remakes that are quite groundbreaking or that were more necessary, like the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, where they completely rebuilt the engine and made it look practically nothing like what it used to, because that was a PS1 series.
And there was also demand for Crash. Like, that is one remake that I think is actually necessary and important. Like you said, like, the timing is so much more important. Like, yes, there was the original Crash trilogy, and like the newer games, like on PS2 and PS3, those gens, I don't think they were very good. People didn't really like them, and they kind of fell off from what Crash was. And this remake, this timing was brilliant because people were demanding for Crash. Like, people have never not wanted more Crash games, you know what I mean? Like, people wanted those back. And the same thing is starting to happen with the Spyro rumors as well.
Yeah, like Spyro is one where I've been looking forward to as well. But like, I think that the right timing for remakes and this sort of structure is definitely fan demand, because Crash and Spyro have both gotten that in spades. But it also comes down to if that game had been remastered before, or if it was previously accessible. Like, look at the PlayStation 3, even though it wasn't PlayStation 2 compatible, or at least its later models weren't, it was still PlayStation 1 compatible. So you could still technically play Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and all that, but now that we're in this new generation where basically backwards compatibility, bar the Xbox One, doesn't exist, a lot of people are pining for these games they couldn't have before, and sometimes these remakes are also made multi-platform and things like that. So people that might have moved console generation or never experienced something before can experience it without it feeling dated, because they never had that nostalgia to get them through it.
Right. Well, no, I can I guess that's my thing too. I feel like developers, they sometimes use remakes as sort of a quick buck, because while they definitely take more effort than remasters, I still feel like that's much easier and cheaper than just making a whole new game. And again, case in point, Shadow of the Colossus, in my opinion. But another thing when it comes to remasters is, though, I know that people complain about remasters a lot and say like this, and this, but I think that they serve a big purpose in just bringing new life to games that not necessarily didn't make it last gen, but also games that just people are actually missing, or like games that actually, like you said, it's been like a time since they released, like the recently announced Burnout Paradise remaster. Like, that I think is a brilliant idea. That is definitely not a game that needed a remake by any means, anything, but it's still a game like people pined for, people still wanted, people really, really enjoyed, and that game has always been kind of talked about still. Like, that game, people talked about it still, and we're like, oh man, remember Burnout Paradise, I'd love to play that again. It makes more sense for this type of game to be ported over and remastered, because it's also an online multiplayer game. There's an audience demand there. People will pick it up for a cheaper price, mind you, and get back into that great online community, because it's a timeless game in the long run. Like, it was just designed so well that it doesn't need to be remade or anything like that. And I feel like most games that are quote unquote remade are just more remade to make them prettier, even though the gameplay still remains largely the same. And again, that's why I just feel like remasters are better, because remasters still make the games like prettier, but they don't make them like overhauls and waste a lot more time and money.
Yeah. Well, it's I think it is definitely a thing based off the want and need of community, and if that game can still hold its own, say, if it was graphically by itself. Like, I think once you sort of reach like early PS2 to PS1, that sort of calls for an actual remake, because that stuff, if you didn't have the nostalgia, it makes it hard to jump in, and that's just a rule of thumb that I think for this generation. But for something like, say, Burnout Paradise is the perfect example for pretty much a launch PlayStation 3 game and the final Burnout game, because they just never made a sequel.
True.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's probably the right call, because one, it already looked incredibly pretty. It played very well, and it just fell by the roadside because it's at that start of that generation, when we're like mid this generation now.
Right.
Like, it's been
late this generation, maybe.
Yeah. We don't know
if we're to believe rumors.
Yeah. I mean, we're just getting started on the Switch. We don't know how to judge this generation.
Right. Well, what's your stance on the Final Fantasy VII remake? Because I know that that's actually changing things, and I don't think that that's necessarily for the better.
Yeah. So I think that like a remake was always going to happen for FF7, but I don't think anyone expected it to be like this. So typically a remake will change the engine to a brand new thing, give it a fresh coat of paint, but keep all of the core values, elements, and gameplay the same or very similar. FF7 has it led us to believe, we still don't know because there's so little information available, but from the last time we saw it, it was an active battle system where you could move around the environment and attack freely, kind of like Crisis Core or Final Fantasy 15, as opposed to the semi-turn-based ATB gauge system of the older original games. And that's a bit different because now, like, is it necessarily a remake or is it a reimagining of the game that we're used to? Will it provide any nostalgia, or will it feel like something else entirely? It'll be the same story we've had, but completely different core.
And couldn't you say that sort of defeats like the soul of the game, almost like the purpose? Yeah. Like, I feel like that changes like the core values of what makes a game, because at the end of the day, yeah, you can upscale movies and like remaster music and stuff like that, and that's easier. And like a game, what it has at its core is that makes it different from other art forms is that it's gameplay, And when you change the gameplay of it, it's like, well, what's sacred anymore at this point?
Yeah. Like, it's FF7 is such a hard one just because we know so little about it as well. But I think that it was a very big internal discussion. Like, I for one don't necessarily agree with the changes. I think it should, like, I don't mind an active system, but I think it should be scaled back a bit more to be more reminiscent of what we've had before. But I think that they've made these decisions because they don't think that the new market will bear it. Like, say, how Final Fantasy 15 was a more active, open-world, Western-style game structured for old and new fans, but more catered to new fans, because, like, older fans might see it as something else entirely. I think that Final Fantasy 7 is almost like a remake made for people that didn't play the original, if that makes sense.
It does, and that's kind of what skeezes me out about it. It makes me feel like it's more of a money grab than anything, because it's like, if you want to cater to the Western audience and the casual audience, then make Final Fantasy 16 like you did 15. Don't remake and change like a classic game that people love.
Yeah, because I don't know. Because like the core of a remake, I think we'll agree on this, that the core of a remake is that it'll look prettier. It'll change a few things, especially visually, or make it run better if there were some mechanics that were odd. But the core of the game, the gameplay, will remain the same or very similar, because that's what made it special enough to get a remake or a remaster or whatever initially.
Right.
At this point, you're practically making a brand new game.
Yeah, and it's like, but you're using borrowed assets from a previous game, and that's what bothers me of it, like the story and everything. And that's why I'm just kind of like, that pisses me off, because I don't know, there are, in terms of remasters, there are lazy remasters as well. Like, I'd say the Dishonored remaster, the definitive edition of it. God, remember the beginning of this gen, definitive edition. Dishonored, I think, was a good idea to remaster it, because I remember it reviewed super well. I think it sold the best in the series, but I still don't think it's sold amazingly well. And that's just because it's more of a niche title. So bringing it to the next gen was a good idea, but the thing is, they still kind of screwed up the port. Like, the port, it still, like, it frame hitches a lot. Loading screens are incredibly long. The resolution is kind of like, the upscaling is kind of like, it just wasn't a very good port at all. It's still playable by all means, but like, it basically just feels like, it almost feels worse than the last gen version in some ways, and I'm not sure why that is. To me, that's kind of a lazy idea and a lazy remaster, and that's where I can see why people get angry at remasters. But at the end of the day, I just don't think they're taking much resources or anything away from the team. Like, they were still working on Dishonored 2 during this time, whereas if they were like remaking Dishonored 1 from the ground up, I feel like that would have taken a lot more time for Dishonored 2 to come out and stuff like that. Like, I feel like that's just an unnecessary use of resources at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, like I think that's also, again, another thing about timing. Like, they probably wanted it on current gen hardware because the sequels would be on that hardware, but it's too soon. It's too soon from the originals. Like, The Last of Us remaster, that was like a year after the game came out on PS3. Like, that doesn't need a remaster. That's a port. Like, that's a straight up port.
Right.
But then, like, there's other remasters that you could consider lazy or just straight up messy. Like how they remastered all of the Kingdom Hearts games. How they did 1.5 and 2.5 on PS3. Like, you go, oh, fair. All of these games are available on one console. That seemed quite reasonable because they were all scattered and messy. But then they did the 1.5, 2.5 on PlayStation 4. And I think they bundled it as well on PS3. And I felt like that was quite awkward.
I could see that. That's the issue with like both remasters and remakes. It's just there's good and bad cases for the most part, but I feel like in almost every sense a remaster is just a better idea at the end of the day, except for like maybe like broken games that had good elements and everything. But like, I don't know, like, even we were talking before this, there is the remasters are also a great way to introduce games to a new audience, which remakes are as well, but again, that resource argument. So Bayonetta 1 and 2 coming to the Switch. Those are just ports and like remasters and everything. Those aren't remakes by any sense of the imagination, because instead they decided to focus their time and resources on making Bayonetta 3. But they're also bringing Bayonetta 2, which was only on Wii U, to an actual audience because no one bought a Wii U. They're also hyping up this franchise, for the new release, and they're bringing it to a new console that a lot of people are buying. And Bayonetta, while it reviewed super well, it was also more of a cult hit. So this is opening it up to just the rest of the world. So I think that's a genius idea, whereas if it was like a remade game, that'd just be a waste of time and space. Like, they even ported Bayonetta 1 to PC, if you remember, and they gave it like 60 frames of 4K support. That's great. They didn't remake the whole fucking thing.
But I think it is definitely a case-by-case thing, and like a good remaster or a good remake is definitely used to, say, inform a certain franchise reimagining. Like, say, like Bayonetta is a good one because no one bought a Wii U, even though they did 1 and 2 on Wii U. Still, no one really bought it, and people aren't going to buy a Wii U to inform themselves of the franchise for 3, because if they've already decided that they want 3, then they've already decided that they want to Switch, which means that they already want to get 2. And conveniently, 2 comes with 1 bundled in it.
Yep.
So it's
genius.
Yeah. So that's I think that's the sort of way to go, where you build remasters for reasons, remasters and remakes for reasons. If the community wants it, if it's good timing for the rest of the franchise, if you can definitely capitalize on your business, on your idea and your franchise without neglecting what you're going to do next in the future. Like, say, you said that doing a remake might take resources away or screw up the fundamentals of that game.
Right.
As long as the resources are still on point, like with Bayonetta, because it didn't take much effort. As long as they're not neglecting the rest of their projects, like Square Enix with Final Fantasy VII Remake clearly that takes a lot of effort.
Yeah, and it's just, I just don't see the point. There are very, very few cases where you can convince me a remake is the better option. Crash 1, or the Crash franchise being one of the better reasons, as is like the rumored Spyro 1, which I really hope is real. And also there's those rumors that Crash is getting another game in 2019. So it's also a great way to just judge, like, the reception of the series, because they could have remastered just the Crash games and done it like, you know, they could have just remastered them, made them look pretty and everything, and that would have been fine and dandy. But I think because they were remade and everything, there was a lot of hype around it, and, you know, there was like a lot more of like a special occasion because, like you said, timing, whereas most other games that just isn't the case. And now we're getting a new Crash because of it, which is just freaking awesome, and I love that so much. Most likely it's a rumor, but I'm sure it's gonna happen. But then there's also the case of, like, for example, Ratchet and Clank. I believe the games were ported to PS3, right? The PS2 trilogy was ported to PS3, but then instead of doing that again with the PS4, they just made a new one. Did they not?
Yeah, there's like that's the other thing. Where do you place the Ratchet and Clank PS4 game? Because it's this awkward remake reboot mixture,
right?
Where
but they put effort into like making it new.
Yeah, but like it felt like a brand new game, but its story, or at least half of its story, was Ratchet and Clank 1. But with a new coat of paint and using the assets from the movie, which is its own awkward mess itself.
See that? Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, they used it to like promote the movie and everything, which is weird. That is a weird case that I forgot about.
Yeah, and so like we don't. It's hard to judge if that was a remake, or a reboot, because it had characters that hadn't been in it before, as well as alluding to, say, the villain from 3 being in 1 and 2. And you're like, is it a reboot? Is it a reimagining? Is it a remake? Are you just adding new content? It's
right.
I think that's just one way we can't really.
That one needs its own discussion.
What it is.
And also, come to think of it, is that the only Ratchet and Clank game that's come out this gen?
Yes.
That's interesting.
I'd love them to continue it. Like whatever this awkward mess was, I enjoyed it. I'd like a 2 and 3. Especially since 3 was my favorite.
Dude, 3 is the best. Let's get Deadlocked too while we're at it. I loved Deadlocked. Just as like a side thing. That just could be remastered. See, that's my thing.
Yeah, do it like a Ratchet and Clank, do it like a Battlegrounds type thing, Deadlocked.
Oh,
that's the current trend, and they've got crazy
Ratchet and
crazy
Clank
weapons.
Battlegrounds. That's a discussion in and of itself as well.
Yeah. If it happens, you can say you heard it here first.
Yeah, right? GameCast thought of it.
Insomniac era fans.
True. But yeah, to kind of wrap it up, I would definitely have to say that I do think in almost every case, remasters are better. In both cases, there are lazy ones, there are good idea ones, and then there are some like Ratchet and Clank, which are just in the middle. But at the end of the day, if you want to bring a game to a new audience, port it over, make it look prettier, and then it's there. If you want to just remake the whole thing and change the gameplay and everything, just make a new game in the franchise. Make a new game in that style. You can reboot the story and everything. That's the great thing about this sort of stuff. You can change the story, give it the same characters. You can do whatever you want. Just, if you want new gameplay, just make a new game, in my opinion. I just don't think remakes are almost ever necessary, except in, again, special cases like PS1 games. Great, that makes sense. It's been, 20, 30 years now? Not 5.
Yeah, like, it is. At the end of the day, it comes down to timing. That's just the thing. Like, a remaster is good in the short term, a remake is good in the long term. If we haven't seen the game for 20 years, most likely you should remake it.
If there's demand.
Demand. Yeah, like don't remake Croc. It's like no one's gonna really care. Like I'm sure there's a niche, but like that's not one where you advertise it like you did Crash. So
right.
Or give it the resources that you did Crash.
Like, even Bubsy, they went the right way with that and making it a new game. Even though the game was trash.
Freaking, the original is trash too.
Yeah, it is.
It comes down to timing, it comes down to the actual audience itself, because you can't just awkwardly or randomly make a remake or remaster something. There needs to be some sort of driving force behind it.
Yep.
Yeah, and like saying that, like, if you want to just make a new game, then make a new game. You can have the same characters like you said, but like, don't as a developer, don't think that that's off limits. Like, look at Mario. It's been the same story for 30 plus years, and they've just changed the gameplay each time, and it works.
Yeah, you ain't seeing any remastered Mario games. Exactly. Except for 64, and that makes sense.
Yeah, because like that structure works. You don't need to worry. Like, story, depending on the game it is secondary.
Yep, exactly. Well, thank Mark. Wow.
Thank Mark.
Well, thanks, Mark.
Thank Max.
Thanks. You know what? I'm leaving it at that. You heard us. I thanked Mark for being on. As always, whatever your guys' opinions are on remakes and remasters, don't forget to leave them in the comments below. Argue with each other. Argue with us. Let us know what you think. And always, don't forget to stay tuned to GameCast for all of your different gaming needs. You know, we do reviews, let's plays, daily news, all sorts of original and interesting content here on the channel. Don't forget to check out our GameCast Discord. There will be a link in the description down below where you can chat with everyone in the GameCast network, and hell, maybe even join up with GameCast if you have a good idea for it. Thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see y'all soon.
The GameCast broadcast is an ambitious project that's fueled by passionate creators that have been giving their hearts and souls, emphasis on souls, to realize TV for gamers. If you enjoy what we create for you on a weekly basis and wish to support further grow GameCast and the TV for Gamers broadcast, please consider a small donation via the GameCast Patreon page link down below. Every donation, big or small, adds up, and any support we receive will positively affect your favorite GameCast personalities and contribute towards the future growth of new entertainment for you, our fans. And remember, for just $1 a day, you can stop the abuse that we inflict upon Alex and Max that we keep locked up in our basement. Remember, for $1 a day, they may someday see sunlight again. Captain Count, we have some bogeys on our radar. Oh, no, wait, I stand corrected. They're just releases. Don't adjust your sets, the release radar is spinning up. The Count has worked tirelessly to fine-tune his radar. Lucky for you and I, his radar is capable of spotting some of the best new releases that might have slipped by otherwise.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Release Radar. I am Snowy, otherwise known as Count Fracula. This is the third video I'm making today. I am very stressed. The first release I'm going to talk about is called Bio Inc. Redemption, and if you like games such as Pandemic, both the board game and the free little flash game / what was the paid version of it? Plague Inc. that was on Steam a few years ago, then this game is very much for you. Priced at $9.99, puts a little bit of a spin on everything actually, because while you can play it as a virus, making the, quote, ultimate illness to torment your victim, you can also play as the head of a medical team trying to stop the spread of said virus, which, that's a nice little twist on the genre. I love that. I love that little idea in comparison to the normal sort of infect the world and kill everything. You can actually do the opposite of that and try and save everyone, which is, you know, a really nice little twist. And to be honest, a tenner for that, that's not too bad. I mean, I might pay a little less, but at the same time, it looks like they put a little bit of investment into the graphics and whatever that they're using. Very sort of in-depth musculature and skeleton, and probably a lot of medical-based research coming to this, so maybe that's justifying the price. But regardless, looks interesting enough. Now, if you're like me and you love city building / strategy games, then this game is definitely for you. It's called Northguard. It's just come out of early access,
and until the 14th of March it is down from $23.79 to $17.84. So that's down from $30 to about $22, $23. Oh, currencies. Yes. Anyway, this is less of a city build. It's a bit of both. A bit of city building, a bit of strategy. It's very much like a game that I cannot remember the name of, Banished, that came out a while ago. But this is more Norse themed than sort of... Banished is more based on early Britannian sort of civilization sort of thing. Whereas this is more Norse inspired. This is Banished is a bit more Germanic. This is more Norse. That's where I was going. Anyway, it looks like that, but at the same time, a lot of love has gone into the art style used in this game. A lot of love seems to have gone into the systems that they're using. I'm not a huge fan of the UI personally, but I've never been one to let the UI dictate whether or not a game is good or not, and by the looks of it, and certainly by the looks of the reviews, it's a very good little strategy game, and that's out of early access. Why not? Now for a studio that does some very strange little games called Amanita Design. They've made games such as Machinarium, which is a weird robot apocalypse-based adventure game, Botanicula, a game that is, again, very weird, and Samarost, which is, again, a very weird game. They now have a new comedy-adventure puzzle game called Chuchel, Chuchel, and it is what you'd expect, a very abstract, weird style of puzzle game, doing very strange little visual comedy things. Is what you expect from this studio at this point, and they've really got their craft down to a T, and they know what they're doing, and it just looks really fun, to be honest. Really fun, really silly little hand-drawn art, and interesting little puzzles, environmental and otherwise, priced at $7.99, and I think if you like puzzle games, or if you liked any of their previous games, then this will definitely be your thing. And the final game I'm going to talk about today is called Crest, the indirect god sim, as it is marketed. A very apt title when you think about it, because it is just that. The only way you can actually influence the civilization that you have got, or that has been made for your game, is using commandments. However, because the inhabitants of this society have free will, that means they can leave. Your commandments are a bit more open to interpretation than in traditional god games. So you could say one thing and they could do something completely different, because in my opinion, I'm going to go off a slight little tangent. If a god does exist and he made commandments, I very much think that this is what would happen, because humans are not perfect. We're not the best at following instructions to the letter. We interpret things very differently. And if this works as marketed, that can make some very interesting results. And I will quote the description here. Will you create a flourishing civilization or lead them into cannibalism? Interesting. Very, very interesting. And at $6.99, I think that's worth a shot. Not cannibalism though, just the game. That brings us to the end of another episode of the Release Radar. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, like, subscribe, share, whatever you fancy. Hey, in the middle of the broadcast, hope you're enjoying this. And I think there are some reviews next. I never remember the order, but oh well. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time for more releases.
The GameCast Discord is the hub of the small world that is GameCast. It's a thriving community filled with gamers, GameCast personalities, and other miscellaneous people we somehow keep picking up along the way. We really don't know how to get rid of them. Not only will it keep you up to date and in the know on all things GameCast, but you will also find weekly gaming events, streams, and of course, a very salty Count Fracula, now also available in a low-sodium alternative. Coming up next, Game Changer. Explore the many weird and awesome ways you could be playing your favorite games. Hacks, mods, challenges, and glitches. Game Changer and your host Alex are sure to have it all.
What's up everyone, Alex here and welcome back to Game Changer. This is where we explore weird and awesome ways to play games. Today we are looking at some classic Nintendo games remade in the Unreal Engine, so let's get right into it. For this episode, all credit is going to user named CryZenX. Go check him out on YouTube. He is currently working on a bunch of different projects and he does just games and characters and levels remade in the Unreal Engine. It's really awesome to watch, so go check that out. Today we are covering Super Mario Sunshine, Super Mario 64, Donkey Kong 64, Metroid Prime, the Pokemon Kanto region, and a few others that I'm throwing in there as a bonus. The first game we're looking at is Super Mario Sunshine. This is a remake of Isle Delfino down to every single little detail. All of the buildings and all of the characters are intact, but there's no dialogue or anything like that. And your water pack, the flood pack, actually works. You have all of your flood abilities, so you can just kind of fly around the map with your hover nozzle and check out all the little details. Next we have Super Mario 64. This is a remake of Princess Peach's Castle Courtyard, so this is the outside of the castle. Every single little detail is included. You've got the moat, you've got the little lake outside, all the trees are there, all the doors in and out of the castle are there. There's no functioning cannon just yet, but there is a spot for where the cannon is supposed to be. Next up we have Donkey Kong 64. The entire starting area has been recreated, and a new fur plugin was added so that Donkey Kong can be super hairy and furry and fuzzy and whatnot. Donkey Kong even has all of his abilities for this. Next we have Metroid Prime. In this one you can switch from first to third person, which means you can see all of the detail in Samus's suit. Also, all of your abilities work, so you can roll around the map, you can shoot things, you can do pretty much whatever you want, but it is just tied to this one area. Next we have the Pokemon Kanto region. This is a fully fleshed out map on a 1-to-1 scale. Every single town is recreated with every detail. All of the buildings are where they need to be, all of the Pokemon centers are where they should go. There's even road markers for every route, so if you look around on the map you can see that you can find your way from beginning to end. Next we have the Ocarina of Time. This has the most areas that were recreated by CryZenX. These areas include the Deku Tree, Kokiri Forest, and Kakariko Village. It even has a multiplayer function and working cutscenes. Next is Luigi's Mansion. This one is actually very simple, only the outside of the mansion has been recreated. Basically you can just run around the outside of the mansion and check out all the little details. It's super dark and spooky. Also, other people have recreated the inside of the mansion, so if you wanted to see something like that, you could find other people who have done this. And lastly, we have the Sonic Adventure 2 Chow Gardens. All three of the Chow Gardens from Sonic Adventure 2 have been recreated: the Dark Garden, the Hero Garden, and the Normal Garden. My only complaint is that when you're in the Dark Garden, Sonic seems to retain his lighting from the other areas, so he kind of glows a little. Personally, I haven't always liked the Unreal Engine because of the overly polished scenes, and the motion blur is usually an issue for me, but it was really enjoyable to see some familiar titles in an HD remake, even if it's just fan-made. I'd love to cover more of these in the future because there are a ton of games that have been recreated by so many different users. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, head on over to the GameCast channel and see what we're doing over there. We've got news, reviews, podcasts, let's plays. We also have a Twitch broadcast every Saturday, so be sure to check that out too. And I am signing off for now. See you later.
Are you on the fence about a game? Maybe your friends are unhelpful and your family doesn't care? Well, we do. Come check out our reviews of games, new and old, even mods to spice things up. Gaming pastime, gaming reviews.
Hey there, my name is Max, and I'm team leader of the review space here at GameCast. Our game reviews provide an in-depth look at the latest and greatest games, as well as some of our favorites from over the years. Stay tuned for this week's reviews and impressions up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Mark, and today I'll be reviewing Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It's been a very big year for fighting games, with many developers showing us the very best they can do with games like Injustice 2, Tekken 7, and Guilty Gear Xrd Rev 2. Unfortunately, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite isn't able to keep the good times rolling. We'll start off, as always, with gameplay. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, much like its predecessors, is a tag fighter combining iconic Marvel and Capcom characters. It's always been very over the top and never took itself too seriously in anything other than gameplay. While Infinite does share many similarities with previous entries, it has also changed up a few mechanics and not necessarily for the better. The snappy, responsive combat we've come to expect from Capcom fighting games is still here, just in a different form. Instead of 3v3 chaotic battles, Infinite has a more restrained 2v2 format. Battles are a little more intimate and the gameplay has shifted to accommodate this. Infinite has done away with assist attacks and instead opted solely for a tag button. In this entry, tagging doesn't instantly swap out each combatant. Instead, the new tagged partner rushes to the scene while the previous fighter finishes up their attack or animation. This leaves them semi-vulnerable but opens up the game to long ground combo strings with the right timing. Long, tag-heavy aerial combos are a thing of the past, as Infinite restricts aerial tagging so the opponent can stay airborne for a mostly fixed period of time. It's a bit frustrating and limiting knowing that I can't keep a juggler alive with a quick assist or tag in. The other big change is the classic Shoryuken input. For all characters besides Ryu, this forward-down diagonal motion has now been replaced with a simple down-down input. It felt a bit like the game was babying me with this change. It's also not a naturally flowing input for a combo and just comes off as awkward. The new Infinity Stones are a bit messy. Some are clearly more powerful than others and it's a little too easy to spam them. For example, the Reality Stone launches a slow-moving projectile which can be used to set up combos. The Storm ability adds extra elemental effects per hit like a Lightning Strike or Firestorm. The Power Stone bounces the opponent off of walls, and its Storm functions a bit like the X Factor from Marvel vs. Capcom 3 with a dramatic damage boost. They're a little unbalanced but mostly fine. Then there's the Soul Stone. This lets you siphon health from the opponent. It has good reach and can be used continuously. The Storm ability lets both combatants enter the ring and perform combos and supers together. Not only that, but it will also revive a fallen teammate if they had been incapacitated earlier in the battle. It's powerful and prolongs battles. It's also severely unbalanced when compared to the other stones. I can see what they were going for, but it seems like it'll just hurt competitive play. For the most part, the smaller roster of mostly returning characters behave much like they did in the previous entry. The most notable changes are in the inputs and button configuration, as there is no longer a dedicated launch button, and there are now auto combos and auto super jumps. It feels like it was designed for a casual market, which isn't a bad thing at all. It's just that in that design, it also comes off as lazy on the developer's part, as many characters and moves are direct ports. The new characters don't bring enough diversity to the small roster, and even some of their moves could have been a bit more ambitious. Infinite also includes many standard fighting game modes like Arcade, Practice, and Versus CPU. There's also a mission mode included to help you get a handle on the game and learn a few new combos, but its terrible UI just made me overthink what should have been straightforward commands. Multiplayer is about what you'd expect with general ranked and unranked play. There's a new beginner mode which pits new players with each other to help ease them into the online space. I like this idea, however the current player base wasn't really that interested, and it was hard to find a match under any search criteria. It's another case of local players best for fighting games. Next, let's talk about the story. I'll clear the air a bit on this one. I understand the argument that a story mode isn't the focus of a fighting game, and I shouldn't lower my opinion of it because it doesn't affect gameplay. While that is somewhat valid, I feel that if the developers include a feature, then it's just as vital as any other part of the whole, and they should try to make it as good as possible. Infinite does not tell a good story. There are kernels of something usable, but it all comes off as cliché or wasted. Basically, the Marvel and Capcom universes have collided together thanks to the meddling of Ultron Sigma, a fusion between longtime Avengers villain and longtime Mega Man X villain. The story doesn't really touch on the initial reaction to these fused worlds at all, and the story takes place roughly 80 or so days after the world's convergence. From there, it's a grab bag of different short-lived arcs inspired by classic Marvel comics. The Marvel and Capcom characters are already familiar with each other, and the player just needs to accept that, which feels like a giant missed opportunity for some great character interactions. One of the best ideas the story had was the combination of iconic locations and organizations, like Umbrella and the Dark Kingdom. Infinite's story also takes itself a little too seriously for what could be a really fun tongue-in-cheek kind of experience like we got from characters' arcade endings in previous titles. The story also not so subtly sets itself up for a sequel, which is a little annoying considering the game just came out and the new story mode needed to prove itself. Now let's talk about presentation. Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite is not the best looking game out there. For a fighting game, that's usually fine, but the real issue is that it lacks character. For example, Marvel vs. Capcom 3 wasn't the best looking game either, but it had a stylized comic book aesthetic that suited the game and characters perfectly. Here they've opted for a semi-realistic look with Unreal 4, and it comes off as cheap or underdone. Some characters look good like Jeddah or Iron Man, while others just look off. Captain America's neck is a mountain of muscle, and Captain Marvel's fringe and forehead are just ugly. During gameplay it's less noticeable, but during the story mode it's hard not to see it. The stages are actually pretty well detailed and have a nice best of both worlds sort of vibe. The menus and text look rushed by comparison, and it lacks the flair and charm of other fighters. It might seem like a small complaint, but it's normally something you don't notice if it's done well. Many returning characters share the same move list from 3, and this includes their hyper combos. These moves looked great in 3 thanks to the game engine, but here they look strange or outdated. For example, Ghost Rider's level 3 hyper combo removed the zoom-in camera, making for a very awkward stare. The soundtrack is hit or miss with how much you like techno dubstep remixes. Some work well while others don't really feel like they belong. The voice work for the Marvel characters is mostly good, with many cartoon voices reprising their roles. The Capcom side uses many of the same voices they've had over the years, which is fine if you're used to them. However, there is no option for changing the dialogue to Japanese audio, which is a feature I use quite frequently in Capcom Fighters. This is the same case globally, as they just didn't record a Japanese audio track despite it being a Japanese game. There is fun to be had here, it's just not up to par. There's mission mode, extra colours to unlock for each character, and upcoming DLC fighters, but I don't think that's enough to hold the interest of new or casual fans. It'll have a competitive following because of its pedigree, but I just don't see it having the sort of impact the previous titles had. It's disappointing because Marvel vs. Capcom is such a huge part of my past with fighting games. I feel like Capcom is slowly slipping away from what made them great in the first place, and this doesn't fill me with confidence. It feels rushed, and for a competitive fighting game that's the last thing you want to see. Because of that, I'd say Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite deserves a wait for sale. It's probably worth a purchase somewhere down the line when it's been tweaked some more and there's a larger roster. I hope you liked that video. Stick around with GameCast for more great gaming content. You can also find more from me over at Risen Culture and right here as part of the review team. Until next time, bye!
It was a good fight.
Hey there, hi there, hello there, internet dwellers. My name is Orange Lightning, and welcome to another GameCast review. This video is also brought to you in conjunction with earlyaccessgaming.net, a website dedicated to coverage and reviews on brand new, in development and early access indie games. So, today I will be talking about Sky Knights, a top-down, multiplayer dogfighting game putting you in the hot seat of a modern fighter pilot, created by developer Hampus Bankler. The premise then? Assemble your crew of between 2 and 4 players and take to the skies in your choice of 3 aircrafts, battling it out with an enemy team made up of other players or an AI team. Or a mix. Contrary to what you might think though, the objective is not to take down the other planes, but to actually flatten the opposition's bases, whilst of course defending your own. An array of weapons are at your disposal, including machine guns, bombs, heat-seeking missiles, to name a few. So be ready for explosions galore. How does it play though? Having gone through a few rounds using the mouse and keyboard setup, I was struggling to control my jet, as the sensitivity is very high and WASD felt a little too unnatural. But switching over to the controller was absolutely the way to go. The triggers work as your accelerator and brake, whilst the analog stick was 100% more delicate for nailing that perfect landing. I did find the weapon handling was a little awkward, as you needed to press the analog stick to switch between them, and the menu was oddly a little unresponsive when trying to land on what you wanted to select to boost your stats and change your gear. But aside from this, the setup is easy enough to understand. Just an absolute beast to master. The learning curve is steep, at least it was for me, and frustrating at first, although there is a nice weight to the plane which does make for a pleasing feel when actually in flight. At the moment, there is only one map and one mission variant, in that player teams must be the first to wipe out 3 enemy land bases, nicely seated in a straight line for a casual flyover. I didn't think it would be that easy, did you? The thrill of the dogfight beckons and will likely distract you from the task at hand, since it's your time to shine and clear the map for fellow teammates to cruise in with a full arsenal. But look out for a number of air artillery units on the ground, because they will get in the way and they pack one hell of a punch. Targeting is actually relatively kind, and hitboxes are quite broad when shooting. However, this is not always a good thing, as it means barrel rolling away from the guy on your tail is a real challenge. And once the inevitable does happen, leaving you with low health and no ammo, returning to base and acing the landing and not crashing is the only way to actually recover your health and your bullets. Well, aside from smashing into a glorious blaze on the horizon and respawning. Be warned though, this game does punish players for repeated deaths. Spawning back in will take a lot longer each time you die, and I don't need to tell you that is not good for your team. Now, I'm not sure I agree with this mechanic, as although it obviously gives an incentive not to die, it can give the other team a very hefty advantage early on, and coming back from that is really rough. Leveling up in Sky Knights comes from points gained for winning, but also generally playing well in a match, i.e. gunning down opponents and damage done to the bases themselves. As you gain levels, new boosts will be unlocked that can be equipped in your player profile and give a nice little edge in your next encounter, alongside the standard upgrades that can be collected during a battle itself. So there is a little customizing, the only other real choices being which aircraft to pilot. Are you a bomber of bases or a jouster of jets? That was bad, I apologise. Touching on narrative, there actually isn't much of a focus on story in this game at all, the draw instead being the flight simulation and multiplayer battles, so I shall glide past and nosedive straight into the cosmetics. The visuals are very polished, with some nice graphics used for different pilot portraits you can choose for your profile. Plane models do appear quite basic, but the texturing is fantastic and really sets off the designs. As this is a top-down venture, everything is very tiny within the playable map, but still looks nice and smooth with minimal lag. Explosions are satisfying, be it bases or enemy jets plummeting into the cliffside, and the palette is quite vibrant and distinctive, despite being murky-ish in colour. I would like to see a variance in settings though, as playing on the same map repeatedly can get stale quite quickly. Maybe some grasslands or river area, possibly a beach with a view of the sea to shake up the backdrop a little, maybe even some rough weather perhaps? Similarly with the soundtrack, there is one piece on a loop in each battle, and while it works for keeping the atmosphere going, it does get a bit repetitive the more you play and the longer a particular match may progress. I'm not gonna lie here, I was terrible at this game in the beginning, and I suffered the pain of my failings in waiting to spawn only to be shot down within seconds of being airborne again. It was aggravating, but despite myself, I did tough it out and jumped into a few online matchups to keep practicing. Plus, I strongly recommend the training option. It's short and sweet and gives you a head start into the gameplay. Eventually, I got into the swing of it and did start enjoying myself. It is a good little game with some character, and once you find your groove and rise up a few levels to begin nabbing perks, everything will start clicking into place. And surprisingly, there is already a decent community springing up, and from my own playthroughs, I was not insulted or shouted at for being an obvious failure, which is immensely encouraging. I really hope this sticks. Wheels and brakes engaged and pulling to a stop. Let's wind down and sum up. After a rocky start, I enjoyed Sky Knights. It is a fun game you can jump in and out of with an encouraging community to bolster players into growing their skills instead of sulking in a dark corner. But I think it needs a lot more substance to really be worth undertaking. One or two other mission modes and a slight variance to maps and music would complete this multiplayer in my eyes. Do note though, it is early access, so perhaps these things are to come, but for now I am giving Sky Knights a wait for sales score. With a tiny weeny bit more content, I would be happy to pay the full price of £6.99, but until then I would say a few quid less would sell it. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed this review of Sky Knights. You can also check out my full written review over on the Early Access Gaming website in the description below. If you want to see more from us here at GameCast, please like and subscribe, and keep watching for more awesome gaming content. And if you want to see more from me, there are links in the description below to my channel, Orange Lightning Playzone, and all other social spaces I frequent. So, after that mass load of information, take care for now.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another Gamecast review. I'm Mark, and today I'll be reviewing Monster Hunter World, now available for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. The Monster Hunter franchise has been growing steadily for quite some time now. Its humble beginnings on PS2 showed the world something quite different to what they were used to. Once it hit the PSP, the franchise became legendary in Japan, and it's steadily grown, and finally it has culminated in Monster Hunter World. For those unfamiliar with this sort of game, Monster Hunter is a hunter-style game which is basically a subgenre of action-adventure, and the easiest way to describe games like this. The basic structure goes like this. You pick a mission to hunt a beast, you journey to that location, you track down the beast, and then wear it down until it can be slayed or captured. Then you gain materials from that beast as a reward and build various armors, each with different strengths, weaknesses, and skills. This cycle then repeats over and over again until the credits roll. It's simple to grasp and very straightforward, and that's because there's so much going on in the background that it's hidden by its simple nature. Fortunately for newcomers, World has tucked a lot of that nitty-gritty stuff into the background, and it doesn't become a necessity until late or post-game depending on your playstyle and how thorough you want to be. The basics of gameplay have remained relatively unchanged. You pick one out of 14 weapon types available, travel to a multi-layered maze-like environment, then proceed to pick up anything that isn't tied down on your search for materials and loot. In previous games, we were pretty much thrown right into the deep end in terms of controls and the general flow of the game. Here there's a bit more of a sense of progression as the game teaches you what each button does as it becomes relevant to gameplay. That being said, the actual ins and outs of combat aren't really taught to you. There's an optional training room that can be accessed from your in-game house, which lets you try out each weapon type as well as gives you a quick overview of how they all work. For being a beginner-friendly Monster Hunter, it seems strange that the most vital beginner's tool was tucked away like that. After some time though, everything starts to click. It's best to pick a weapon that resonates with you, as there isn't much point using a bowgun if you hate playing ranged. Once you have a good grasp of everything, the game starts to show its teeth, if ever so slightly. Monsters have increasingly complex designs and move lists, and it's up to you to pick your windows for attack. You might want to systematically wear them down, severing their tail, scarring their wings, or breaking their claws. You might prioritise knocking over the beast using the environment to your advantage for some quick traps or mounting opportunities. Or you might decide you work best with a team and fight together as one, drawing aggro or providing support when necessary. It may seem like all you do is hack and slash your way to victory, but there's a lot to think about in the heat of battle.
As this is a huge leap both visually and technically, there are some changes as well. Now, thanks to the seamless transitions between each section of the map, monsters have a much higher chance to interact with one another. Most of these encounters end up in turf wars between beasts as they try to tear each other apart for encroaching on the other's territory. This not only gives you a visual spectacle, but it gives you a chance to recover and get some free hits in while your would-be prey is distracted. It gives a greater sense that this is a living, breathing world with clearly defined food chains and ecosystems. The new complex environments also lead into one of the world's new combat features, sliding attacks. While moving around steep inclines, your hunter will begin sliding. Not only is this a great way to move to lower locations on a map, but it also gives you a new opportunity to attack by propelling yourself off the ground and becoming a bladed rocket of destruction, or at least that's how it is if you play dual blades. Another new gameplay mechanic is the mantle system. These are basically temporary skills that you drape over yourself. These skills can range from added elemental resistances to activating glider capabilities and even doubling your vitality as long as the mantle itself holds out. I didn't really explore the system too much early on, but as the game progressed I realised just how much they can help out. Another feature that sits somewhere between a new mechanic and a revision of previous games is the slinger. This is a wrist-mounted crossbow-like device that allows for precision aiming when using projectiles like rocks and knives. It takes some of the guesswork out of lining up your character and it feels like a very natural addition. It can also get you out of a few jams with the right ammunition equipped. I can talk endlessly about all the changes to the original systems and what I liked and didn't like, but what it really boils down to is that the game is significantly easier than previous titles. Drops are better, monsters are weaker, auto-crafting is incredibly convenient, the new weapon upgrade system is fantastic, each armor piece now carries a full skill, and scout flies take the guesswork out of the hunt. Whether you agree with the changes or not is irrelevant, as it was Capcom's decision to introduce the most accessible Monster Hunter possible to the biggest audience. It succeeds in this on all fronts, however rest assured that while the heart of Monster Hunter isn't as prickly as previous entries, it is still definitely there. Just a large majority of it is hidden behind post-game grinding and tempered beasts. Monster Hunter World is the most story-heavy mainline Monster Hunter game, which is the equivalent to saying Mario Odyssey is the most story-heavy Mario game. Sure, it has cutscenes and there was a bit more effort put into the overall structure of the background narrative, but it's still about hunting big monsters or saving princesses. This time around, the giant walking volcano Zora Magdaros has decided it's time to migrate to the new world and change the ecosystem while they're at it. As an old world hunter, you and your handler can't take this sitting down and you join the hunter fleet in order to discover why it's decided to move out and to where. There's a little more complexity once you enter high rank, but it doesn't go much further, nor does it need to be. Much like Mario games, all you need is a direction and then the gameplay can speak for itself. For the longest time, Monster Hunter has nailed its gameplay. Every new iteration just kept on polishing an already rock-solid formula to perfection. The one area they didn't really try to polish was the game engine. Sure, monsters did get more complex and their animations were incredible on handheld devices, but it still looked like a PS2 game. World has finally ditched the old engine and rebuilt everything in this shiny new HD feast for the senses. Now we have even more beautiful animations, partially destructible environments, specific monster-to-monster interactions, and particle effects as far as the eye can see. Seriously, the game loves its particle effects. The scout flies will fill your screen on a regular basis and it will be just as distracting as it is beautiful. The new monsters look incredible. They're just a joy to watch and fight. Even returning monsters look fresh in the new engine. The new poster boy monsters Anjanath and Nergigante are quite original for the franchise, although I did get some Gore Magala vibes from Nergigante from time to time. Environments are jaw-dropping and the Coral Highlands in particular is a highlight as it's so visually distinct from all other Monster Hunter games. The only issue is the scout flies tend to peel your eyes away from the smaller details and you just end up following them like a traditional waypoint system and you might not really be taking in the environment, which can be a problem when you want to find a location you'd been to before but don't have the flies to take you there. This is especially apparent with multi-layered environments, in particular the initial forest and the spiraling treetops. Armors, weapons and palicos look better than ever, with new monsters providing the basis for your new ensemble. Almost every armor in the game looks cool, which is great as in previous games there used to be a small debate between practicality and looks. The character creators are pretty detailed and they let you test your character against multiple environments to give you a sense of how they'd actually look in-game. This goes double for your palico. I'm not normally a cat person, but my palico was super adorable. I will say though that the HUD is too small and I hate the fact that it fades away outside of battle. I liked always knowing my status in previous games. I don't like having to glance to the side when in the middle of a fight. I noticed some frame droppings in the main city from time to time and during a few hunts when things got messy. The monsters also clip through environmental hazards quite regularly, which is a bit of a pain. Monster Hunter World may be easier, but it's still a ton of fun to play. The grindy gameplay doesn't feel as frustrating or unfair this time around, or at least in its earlier stages, and combat is still a chaotic ballet of breath attacks. I might not agree with some of the changes, but I can see it was all done for the improvement of the general experience. Even though it has a smaller roster than most other entries, there's still a ton of content, and free monster and environment updates will keep the hardcore player base happy. It's great to finally see the franchise taking the plunge into the next generation. The series is maturing, and it's hard to believe it's been around for as long as it has. I enjoyed myself over my 40 odd hours of the main quest, and I'd be keen to play more. If you're curious about the franchise and don't know where to start, then Monster Hunter World is probably worth a buy. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed that video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to see more from me, you can find me right here as part of the review team, or over at Arisen Culture. Until next time, bye!
What's up everyone, my name is Mike, and welcome to another GameCast review. Today I'll be taking a look at Rampage Total Destruction for the Nintendo GameCube. Enjoy!
Now, try soda S.
Wow! That's good soda! It's like there's a party in my mouth!
I played the original Rampage for the first time not too long ago, and it seems very dated, but I do have fond memories of playing both Rampage World Tour and Rampage 2 Universal Tour for the original PlayStation. Like the Gauntlet series, the Rampage games are very repetitive, and are best played in short bursts unless you can really get into them. My favorite has always been Universal Tour just because of the additions, and I do feel it's a bit underrated, but I will admit that it's basically a rehash of World Tour. Regardless, I love this series. I mean, you play as a giant monster destroying cities and eating people, and that just equals fun. Granted, by the 100th city you've probably had enough, but as a kid I could play repetitive games like this all day. Developed by Pipeworks Software and published by Midway Games, Rampage Total Destruction is the latest entry in the Rampage series, released for the GameCube and PlayStation 2 in April 2006. An updated version with new monsters and even a new monster upgrade, among other things, was released for the Wii later that same year. For this review I played the GameCube version, and you may be wondering why I didn't play the Wii version. Well, I do have both, but I refuse to play a Rampage game with fucking motion controls. Who the hell thought that was a good idea? Seriously, I want names. Ridiculous. As you may or may not know, the Rampage games are best played co-op, but Jeremy refused to play with me. Why? Because we did a Let's Play of Universal Tour a few years back and beat it in one sitting. He said that was enough. Compared to its predecessors, Rampage Total Destruction changes things up significantly, but are these changes for the better? Well, let's take a look. I'm going to admit, I've owned this game for years and always thought it just sucked ass, but now that I've played it for more than 20 minutes, it's not nearly as bad as I thought, but I still like the previous games better. The core gameplay in Total Destruction is nothing new. Just like in previous entries, the objective is to destroy cities one building at a time. You can smash or throw vehicles, eat, kick, and stomp pedestrians, smack aircraft out of the sky, you know, typical Rampage shit. Now there's quite a few changes to the gameplay that are not all for the better. The biggest being the controls and camera. Previous games had you moving your monster left and right. Now you can also move forwards and backwards, however the camera is positioned in a way that it can be difficult determining perspective, which can make jumping and attacking frustrating, especially when you miss your intended target or jump where you don't want to jump. Every monster can run, jump, punch, kick, stomp, and crush, but each have different stats that determine how well they can do these things. Some monsters may not be able to run fast, but can destroy buildings with ease. Other monsters may not be able to destroy buildings quickly, but can move fast and jump high. You can switch out monsters in between city blocks, and your favorite monster may not only come down to which one looks the coolest, but which one has the stats that fit your playstyle. You can climb buildings from the sides and even the front, smash windows and acquire items from said windows like food and power-ups. Eating people and food normally provides you with health, although some foods and toxic items can be harmful, so you need to be careful. If a monster eats something it doesn't like, it will usually puke. Sometimes you'll smash a window and get burned, electrocuted, or even blown off the building from water. You can climb to the top of a building and just keep stomping or smashing down on it, and after taking a certain amount of damage, the building will crumble to the ground. As you smash your way to worldwide destruction, you build up a Rampage energy meter. When the meter is full, you automatically enter Rampage mode where you move faster and I think your attacks do more damage, until the energy meter drains. This meter is also drained when you use your Roar attack or acquire the instant Rampage power-up. The speed boost power-up just makes your monster move faster for a limited time. I do kind of wish there was more power-ups, but it is what it is. There's 4 modes to play through: Campaign, King of the City, King of the World, and Timed Run. Campaign and Timed Run can be played solo or with friends, but the King modes require more than one player. The campaign is where you can unlock new monsters and monster upgrades. Your ultimate goal in the campaign is to destroy each city and cause as much destruction as possible for a high score. You earn points for doing anything. You can acquire bonus points from point items and windows, and earn combo points for destroying multiple rows of a building in one attack. You start the game with very few monsters, and to unlock most of the roster, you have to find the cryo tubes in specific cities with specific monsters. Now, considering how many monsters are in this game, you could be playing this for a while if you want to unlock every monster. Unlike previous games, you're not going to travel to over 100 cities. Instead, there's only 7 cities here, each with multiple city blocks that need to be destroyed. These cities include Las Vegas, San Francisco, London, Los Angeles, Chicago, Hong Kong, and New York. You start in Las Vegas and must unlock each city by destroying the previous one. You have a specific amount of time to destroy each block, which should never come down to the wire unless you really take your time. Every block has a challenge for you to complete. These involve things like eating a specific amount of a certain type of pedestrian, destroying specific things, or even eating specific foods. All of the challenges reward you with bonus points, and some also reward you with monster upgrades. These include a Charge Punch, Multi-Spin, Roar Attack, and Jump Smash. Charge Punch and Jump Smash are easily the most useful since they can make destroying buildings much less time-consuming. Now, each city does have a set of objectives that can be completed, like all blocks destroyed, which obviously is not very hard, all challenges met, all monsters revealed, and par points gained. The unlockable monsters, challenges, upgrades, and city objectives is what gives this game plenty of replay value, but you really need to enjoy the repetitive gameplay to even care. Every monster starts with 3 lives, and when you lose all of them, you're not really punished. You have the option to restart from the current city block, which is actually nice, because some of the later cities can be a bit of a challenge. The last city block in each city contains a Scum Labs branded boss, and they're not really hard to take down. They're more or less just a nuisance. The timed run mode is basically the campaign, but the objective is to destroy each city block as fast as possible. You're given no lives and can restart from the current city block if you die, as long as you still have time. However, you only have to worry about the first city block because you can easily acquire bonus time for destroying a block, and the remaining time just keeps stacking as you progress. The first city block is only somewhat of a challenge because you start with only 3 minutes. Rampage Total Destruction does offer a challenge, especially in the later cities. Just like in previous games, pedestrians will try and take you down, the police will always be on your ass, and you'll even have to deal with military forces. Police cars and officers are easy enough to deal with, but the SWAT team proves to be a bit more of a nuisance. When the military is called in, shit starts to get real. Later cities have police, SWAT, and soldiers attacking you from almost every direction, with gunfire and even explosive projectiles. Helicopters will be shooting at you, some fire explosives, and it can be very easy to get overwhelmed. Most of the deadlier attacks will knock you down, even off of buildings. You'll need to eat shit to regain health, and if you're not fast enough, you'll lose a life and transform back into your human form. And later cities seem to have a lot more hazardous items and windows. Tanks also make a return, as do bombers that fly overhead and drop bombs that can cause major damage. Pedestrians will drop shit from windows that can hit you in the head, and if you eat anybody with a halo above their head, you get struck down by lightning. Apart from background changes and visual details, most of the cities feel the same. There's normally several buildings placed next to each other, and some blocks have buildings placed behind other buildings. Later cities like Chicago, Hong Kong, and New York have much taller buildings, making these cities take a bit longer to destroy.
As you can see, we've had some negative reaction to Scum Soda from a few individuals. But we're handling it, Mr. Z. We're on top of the situation. This is not a problem.
How many?
What?
I don't know about the original game, but the storylines in World Tour and Universal Tour are not very in-depth, but I don't think anybody really expects anything in terms of deep narrative for a Rampage game. In those games, the story involved some kind of explosion or accident at the Scum Labs facility, and I guess the chemicals or something turned some of the employees into giant monsters. The original trio included George, a giant ape, Lizzie, a giant lizard, and Ralph, a giant wolf. Universal Tour adds several new monsters to the roster. The classic trio does return here along with a ton of new monsters. I think there's about 30 in total. The story in Total Destruction revolves around people drinking Scum Soda and turning into monsters. Scum Labs fucked up again. If you really think about it, it's just amazing they're still in business. The storyline is clearly just a backdrop for the gameplay, and you probably won't even care. The few cutscenes that are here are silly, cartoony, and I can't imagine anyone taking them seriously.
You can't eat me. I'm a lawyer.
I think it's obvious that Rampage Total Destruction looks much better than its predecessors. It still retains that cartoony look, the environments are colorful, and there's actually an impressive amount of detail. Smoke rises with debris flying through the air as buildings crumble to the ground. Money, clothing, and other shit will rain down from the skies. You may notice birds flying around or congregating somewhere. The buildings themselves are distinguished thanks to legible signs and other small details to make them stand out in some way. For example, you'll destroy banks, diners, hotels, houses, parking garages, and even other notable buildings and locations unique to each city. Royal Guards can be found in London. You can destroy Central Park in New York. Las Vegas is obviously filled with casinos. It's these little things that can add enjoyment to the experience. Even though the cities feel the same, at least they look different. But I should mention the actual backgrounds, which just look like low-quality blurry images. On the audio side, the music is full of rock tracks that just repeat over and over. They're catchy and all, but the soundtrack is just as repetitive as the gameplay. Now the sound effects are actually pretty good. As you destroy buildings, you'll hear stone break, glass shatter, alarms will go off, and people yelling and screaming for their lives. It's glorious. Now, I'm a simple guy and laugh at stupid and offensive shit, so I find it somewhat humorous when the monsters belch and fart after they eat things. You can even press buttons at loading screens to make these noises. That's silly. Actually, the pedestrian dialogue did make me chuckle a few times. Some pedestrians in London sound a lot like John Lennon, and the soldiers sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Although the dialogue does get repetitive since you'll hear the same lines repeatedly, no matter what city you're in. The only technical issues I noticed is certain sound effects would briefly cut out when there's a lot happening, and I'm pretty sure the frame rate dips a little when there's a lot of destruction happening on screen. I can honestly say I did enjoy my time with Rampage Total Destruction. It's a fun title, just not very in-depth. Sometimes I enjoy mindless fun, and that's what this series has always offered, and this is no exception. I'm glad I gave it more of a chance this time around because the more I played, the more it grew on me. Yes, it's repetitive, and I can see many people quitting after destroying maybe the first 2 cities. But this is the kind of game that's best played with friends and or if you're just looking for a quick pleasure trip. Listening to monsters chew on innocent pedestrians, watching people running around and listening to them yelling and screaming as you destroy their world, buildings crumbling to the ground, there's just something fun about the whole concept. It's somewhat comical, a bit crude, and just silly overall. I think Rampage is more about style than substance, but the substance that is here can be enjoyable. If playing as a giant monster and destroying the world doesn't sound like fun, I don't know what does. If you can enjoy the gameplay, there is plenty of replay value here thanks to the unlockable monsters, challenges, monster upgrades, and city objectives. There's multiple game modes, half of which are multiplayer exclusive, and if you're into score-based games, Rampage Total Destruction did not forget the series' arcade roots. And as an added bonus, Total Destruction includes both the original arcade game and World Tour. I thought that was pretty cool, and it may be a saving grace if you really can't get into the base game. I don't know if I would recommend Rampage Total Destruction to everybody. I think I would only recommend it to fans of the series or to anyone who thinks this looks enjoyable. Now I'm going to say it again, this is just as repetitive as previous entries, with a new coat of paint and wonky controls. I do appreciate the developers trying something different here, but I have to admit, something is a bit off. World Tour and Universal Tour had a charm about them that Total Destruction just does not capture. I think it's because the previous games offered a heavier arcade feeling, or maybe it was the constant grind, hoping you don't lose all of your lives because you realize how many hours you've just wasted playing, just to get to the end to earn that feeling of satisfaction. Crazy enough, I honestly prefer the hundreds of cities found in previous games to the city block stuff, mainly because in previous games it actually felt like you were destroying the world. But I do appreciate the improved feeling of progression found here, since you're not required to destroy all of the cities in one continuous run. Basically, if you think this looks like fun, I would say check it out, since you can find it for pretty cheap now. And to Rampage fans that have never played this, just know it plays like Rampage, but it doesn't always feel like Rampage, if that makes sense.
This is horrible! Scum Labs will be wiped out!
Thanks for tuning in. I hope this review proved helpful. Stick with GameCast for more quality content, including the latest gaming news, podcasts, let's plays, and even more reviews. Be sure to check out my channel, Gaming Pastime, for new game reviews released every week. My name is Mike, and I thank you for watching.
What about the side effects? I thought Scum Soda caused people to turn into monsters!
Well, yeah, but nobody seems to care. Everyone loves Scum Soda.
Late to the broadcast and miss your favorite show? Fear not, we've got you covered. The GameCast YouTube channel contains all of your past and present shows on demand for you to view at a time of your convenience. The space also serves as a portal of sorts for you to discover what your favorite GameCast personalities are creating outside of the GameCast world. Simply click the link below for the past and present on demand, with a side bonus of content from your favorite GameCast personalities. Stop right there. Don't touch that dial and don't change the channel. Pocket Edition is up next. This small form factor show isn't afraid to unpack the biggest talking points of the video game industry. Join your host Sully and other various GameCast personalities as they pull apart and put back together what captured their interest this week, and, in some cases, your childhood too.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 21 of Pocket Edition, the bite-sized podcast. I'm your host, Sully, and today I'm joined by Count Fracula. How's it going, man?
Yo, it's good. Good, thank you.
What have you been up to? What are you doing? Other than fighting crazy people in Joe Chip's Discord server.
Yeah, that was a fun hour.
Yeah, get your popcorn.
I have been playing Elite Dangerous in VR.
Oh, I know, I saw you playing that last night, actually. I didn't know you were playing it in VR, though. That's one of the VR titles, though. That is, like, when we're talking VR, that's the shit, isn't it?
Yeah. Something else just to see, even just inside a space station, just like, holy shit, this is fucking huge. And you're in a tiny little ship.
Nice. And you've got the HTC Vive, right?
I do, yes. You can't use the Vive controllers with it.
Yeah, so you use keyboard and mouse. Or a controller.
No, I use a controller. You can't use a keyboard with a Vive on.
I imagine some people can, can't they? Like, isn't that just touch typing?
If you lift your fingers off, you're fucked. Which I did, because I got confused, because I've not played Elite Dangerous in months, and I forgot the controls.
Just fucked. All I'm imagining is, like, you lift your hand off the keyboard and you get lost in the room or something.
Yeah. Just somewhere else.
Yeah.
Right at the back with the green screen. What am I doing?
That's great.
No, not that bad. But it was still pretty sort of like, oh shit, I don't know what I'm doing, help. So, yeah. I've mapped a controller to basically everything important.
Very nice.
And I've also been playing Into the Breach, which is the new game by the FTL devs.
Yeah, I saw you playing some of that the other day. I did check out the VOD, like a few minutes of the VOD. That looks up my alley. I think I'd really enjoy that.
It's quite a good strategy game.
It's tile-based, isn't it?
It's tile-based, turn-based, very strategic. You need to think about 5 steps ahead of what you're doing as well as everything else.
I really enjoy the Fire Emblem series, or I did on 3DS. I played a bunch of those and I loved them. So I feel like I'd really enjoy this. But this is a lot more kind of I think more rock, paper, scissors, and it's a lot. The battlefield's a lot tighter, I think, on this than previous Fire Emblem.
Oh yeah,
games.
there's only sort of I think you're on a 10x10
Yeah,
grid.
it's more like a chessboard, but yeah, it looks really cool. It looks really slick. People should definitely check that out.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's very well refined and worth checking out, and also quite difficult, a bit like FTL. So they're quite good at doing that. But yeah, so that's what I've been playing.
Anyway, I have not been playing a whole lot. I have been playing a little guilty pleasure, and you're about to facepalm hard. Call of Duty Zombies. Yeah. Get on it. Amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? I'm one of those gamers right now.
That's depressing.
Yeah, it's quite fun, though. But, I won't go into detail because I already know what Call of Duty Zombies is. Let's get into it. What are we talking about today? A big hit series making its return in 2022, correct?
Yes, we are. Yes, allegedly. This is wild speculation to the highest degree. It really is. Like, it's interesting speculation, I'll give it that, but it is definitely speculation. But yeah, we're talking about GTA 6, or the possibility of that.
Oh, Red Dead's not even out yet, and we're talking about rumours for GTA 6. Amazing.
Amazing. It's a thing that probably should have been happening already.
Yeah, it feels like it's a long time coming, that game. Run us through the rumours surrounding GTA 6. What's all the kerfuffle about?
So, This was started by an anonymous source, just put out some information that the game, I don't think it's being worked on yet, but I think it's certainly in the planning stage from what they're saying, because one, they're trying to eke out GTA Online a bit longer, which we can talk a little bit about later. But the main rumour, as we've already said, was that it is scheduled for release in 2022, which is a very long time away. That's 4 years, and that'll be 9 years since GTA 5 came out by that time.
God, I'll be over 30. That's how I measure everything. My remaining
How old will
time.
I be? 4 years. I'll be 27.
You'll be old man. Old man count.
Yeah.
Get the walking frame.
Even more cynical somehow.
That's just a natural progression.
So that's the rumoured release date. The other rumours are that it's going to be set in Vice City again.
Very cool.
Which is the best.
Yeah.
That's the best one. I know a lot of people like Los Santos. I know a lot of people like Liberty City. Vice City is
give
my
me
favourite.
Vice City. Let's go back. Let's go back to that
It's
era.
so much. It's compact, but there's so much more detail in it. It's amazing.
I feel like they could capture that era like infinitely better now as well in 2022
Oh, yeah,
than what they did in the early 2000s or something.
I mean, I can still go back to the old Vice City and Vice City stories, play them and enjoy them, because I just think they're really good still.
Yeah, I just want to go back aesthetically.
Just to see those updated.
Yeah,
And,
aesthetically, it's going to be gorgeous. Like, I just can't wait.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to be visually gorgeous.
I mean, it doesn't even have to be set in the 80s. It could be set like now.
It could be, yeah. Yep. But I'm just saying, give me the
like
80s.
a really modern Vice City, like hyper modern.
Fuck yeah, let's go to the future. Fuck it, we're going to the future now.
Grand Theft Auto
in space.
Oh yeah, add an echo on that.
Yeah, I'll try.
So that's the other rumour, that it'll be set in Vice City. And then the final rumour is that it will be...
Oh wait, you haven't said it yet. I already know what it is.
No, I haven't said it yet. Just lost my train of thought entirely. That it will be the first Grand Theft Auto game to contain a female
protagonist.
Oh my god.
A lady person.
Oh my god. Progressive.
Not a lady person. We can't have the women folk in our games.
Can you tell I'm being facetious?
So, very interesting stuff though. Cool. It's back, 2022, potentially Vice City. They're already potentially working on it. And we get a female protagonist, which is cool. Why not?
Yes, it is cool. It worked well with Horizon Zero Dawn.
Absolutely. That game is phenomenal.
It's worked well with the Lara Croft series of games, mostly.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan.
The
but
rather stupidly sized packages aside.
Stupidly sized packages? What are you talking about?
On Lara Croft.
Oh. All I remember about those games is the PC performance taking a massive dive because they'd have dynamic, something that's dynamic about her hair.
Oh, is this the reboot?
I'm talking about the reboot, yeah. What are you talking about? The old ones?
General Lara Croft.
Oh, in general. Right, gotcha. Yeah, good games. Not my cup of tea.
Ugh.
Brutal death animations.
No, I mean, it's a thing that exists, but I'm not going to go out my way to play it.
You are right. We have seen a lot of extremely engaging and successful games that contain a female lead.
It's one of the things that makes me want to get a PS4, because I look at the PS4 and I go, hey, I want that game, I want that game, I want that game. Because there's quite a few games that I look at for the PS4 and go, I should probably get one of those at some
Definitely.
point.
If you haven't played the Uncharted series, that's a collection that's worthwhile picking up.
Yeah, that's one of the series that doesn't interest me.
Oh, it's so good. How does that not interest you?
It's not my thing. Also, Nathan Drake is the biggest arsehole.
Yeah, he is. He is. I'm not denying that, but it's just...
I'm gonna murder a load of foreigners because I want a thing.
Yeah. The set locations, the murder. Oh,
yeah.
It's no, the games, I love those games. They're just...
I'm sure they hold up mechanically.
Yeah, that's what I love.
I think it's more specifically the protagonist that
Fair
puts
enough.
me off.
He is a bit of a brick.
That's but never mind.
But yeah, there's quite a few gems on the PS4 that are worthwhile picking up. Horizon Zero Dawn is certainly one of them as well. I'd probably suggest just starting there. But yeah, back to GTA. How do you feel about a female lead?
Fine.
Let's do it.
There's no reason it couldn't work. I think the reason they didn't do it last time, this was before before people started complaining en masse about lack of a female protagonist. when GTA 5 came out, it just started to gain a bit of traction, but...
We said about 2013, roughly, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's a 5-year-old game, nearly.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but I think in like the development time, it wasn't a big thing, and they'd already got this thing worked out anyway.
So now they're getting on at the earliest possible time, except Red Dead. I mean, unless Red Dead's character is a woman. I don't know if we know that yet, do we?
They might have multiple protagonists like they did in GTA 5. I'd be down for that. But there are rumours that you can play some of the previous characters from previous games.
Love that game. You know what I love about this rumor listing though is that we get a release date, we get a location, and then that it's a female lead. Like, it's great that it is. I just don't feel like it's really worthy of noting that anymore.
It's not the revelation.
No, it's like, okay, yeah.
No, it's not great. As... The thing is, it's only a big thing because GTA is probably the last of the big franchises to have done a female lead.
Yeah.
Except maybe things like Metal Gear. But Metal Gear is Metal Gear.
Yeah, that's true. We know what they're doing. What else is interesting as well is that the sources that this leak came from. Like, is this all the information they could get somehow? Or is this being... again, this is someone from within the kind of development process leaking just these 3 specific points that also thought, what female protagonist?
And it's very specific points, isn't it?
It's just, I find it all kind of peculiar.
I mean, the location of the setting and the vague release year are sort of, okay, I can understand how we'd have those at this point in time. But the female protagonist thing, like, unless that was what they were going into the game planning with that in mind, that's not something that I'd have worked out yet.
Well, I hope so. I mean, that's what I hope is.
I don't know. I'm not a game designer. I have no idea how they're designed and in what order.
I don't actually think it's going to launch 2022. Anyway, regardless.
That's far too far away. 9 years between games. You can be the best game in the world, the most revenue-generating game in the world, which GTA Online probably is, to be honest. But people will lose interest after 9 years, surely.
I actually think it's going to launch later.
Really?
I think they're going to stick to more of that 5-year cycle, and I think Red Dead Redemption is going to more than carry them past that point. Because Red Dead's out, the end of the year?
You think they're just going to keep milking things like GTA Online and whatever Red Dead has for an online?
I mean, if they've sunk, 6-something years into development, they want to make bank on that game for a long time, like all the GTAs before that. I think Red Dead will more than have the legs, unless they astronomically cock something up with loot boxes and shit.
Unless they've spent such a ridiculous amount of money on it that they'd make their money back from sales easily with a Red Dead game. They wouldn't even have to have microtransactions in it to make their money back.
Well, I hope not. And I mean, you look at GTA as well, number 5. Like, it's still, I believe, last time I heard, which was late last year, that it's still in the top 5 best-selling games of generally almost every month.
GTA Online is making Rockstar, at last count, $5 million a day.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. Like, the point that I was trying to make is that I don't think they can get it out by 2022, because one, they've stated they've only just started early work on the game in these rumors, and two, I think it's easily a 5-year cycle, easily, when you look at GTA 5 and Red Dead Redemption, and I honestly feel like that's going to be potentially clipping Red Dead Redemption 2 a little bit short, because by the time Red Dead Redemption 2 comes out, is the end of the year I think it comes out, got pushed to the end of the year a while ago.
Something like that, or early next year.
So that puts us into 2019, and that's 3 years. That's like 2 years short of what GTA 5's just done. And I'm assuming they want to kind of monetize and monopolize on Red Dead Redemption 2 like they have GTA 5. So I don't think it's coming 2022 personally. I could easily see it 2023 or 2024. Like we're getting crazy now. We're getting absolutely crazy. But this rumor in general is crazy.
Oh yeah.
To have a rumor drop like this before Red Dead Redemption 2 is even released.
Well, it's not beyond the bounds of reason for these rumors to be.
Well, not these days.
Things anymore.
They just have to put something out for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's the same as the whole Diablo coming to Switch thing. Those rumors just spattered from nowhere. All the Spyro remastered rumors. I mean, it's amazing how often these rumors can be at least fairly accurate if not bang on. But it's the internet. That's what's doing it.
It is. It's just hype and excitement, and we're mapping shit out way too far down the line now. God, it's getting crazy. Anyway, any final thoughts on this before we wrap this short, sharp one up?
I don't think so. I think I think we've said everything we need to on GTA 6.
Yeah.
I hope it's set in Vice City. If it has a female protagonist, that's great. I'd like it to come out before 2022, but at the same time, considering what GTA Online is making, wouldn't be surprised if it didn't.
I completely agree with all of those points. Give me futuristic Vice City. I want it. Just do it. Give me flying cars and DeLoreans and all that kind of cool shit. Let's do it. Bring it on. But anyway, let's wrap it up. So thank you for listening.
Yes.
Be sure to join our Discord server, which is the hub of the GameCast community, where you'll also find what we call Discord exclusives, little tangents and outtakes that are cut out of each podcast that we upload to our YouTube channel. You'll find them exclusively on our Discord server, so be sure to check those out, because some of them are actually pretty interesting conversations, and some of them are just hilarious, like Count's Pokemon Adventures.
Yeah, I gave up in the end. I didn't catch it. I bought a shiny Pokemon instead.
Catch the sea bass. If you want to know what we're talking about, go to that space and check out that episode. But again, thanks for listening. Be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in episode 22 of Pocket Edition. Have a good one.